Yeah, it's case number 122 on the calendar, the matter of Fleshman versus Oropesa.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Fleshman, it is your claim that the defendant, who is a former girlfriend of yours, has some furniture that belongs to you.
Yes.
And the defendant says that while you did, in fact, purchase the furniture and televisions, how many, one or two televisions?
There's a total of 2 televisions.
That she still has in her possession?
Correct.
While you did, in fact, purchase them, that you actually at some point made a gift to her of the furniture and the televisions. Now, when were you living in the defendant's house?
Off and on, basically, from February 28th of '09 to January 18th of this year, off and on.
So far, is that correct?
I believe it was January 11th.
Okay. And what furniture are you claiming that the defendant has that belongs to you?
The entire master bedroom set. It's a king-size sleigh bed with dresser and mirror.
A master bedroom set that you purchased?
Correct.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it on November 26th of 2008.
So you had it before you and the defendant living together?
That is correct.
Where was it?
In storage.
Why?
At the time, I was still recovering from back surgery, and I was staying with my parents.
So you bought furniture and put it in storage?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you just wait until you had your own place? Almost not an answer.
Because
it just doesn't sound logical. That you're living with your parents, you have back surgery, you go out and buy furniture, and you don't have a place to put the furniture, so you pay to keep it in storage. That just doesn't sound right to me, Mr. Fleshman. Just doesn't sound...
I had a settlement from the back surgery, so I wanted to buy the furniture before I spent it elsewhere, Your Honor.
Why don't you just put it in the bank?
Money goes when it's in the bank.
You can give it to your mother. Your mother would have held on to it for you.
That is correct. I should have listened to my mother several times.
Yeah. How long was it in storage?
That time, probably 5 months, 6 months.
How much did you pay for storage?
About $40 a month.
And was it at that time that you moved the furniture into Miss Oropesa's house?
Yes, it was probably April of '09.
Okay. And my reading of your complaint, sir, says that off and on you would fight, you would move out, you'd take your furniture with you, and then you'd come back. How many times did you move back and forth with your furniture?
Probably 4 or 5 times.
How many times, Miss Oropesa, did Mr. Fleshman move out with his furniture?
2.
2 times.
That's a lie.
Out.
Sorry.
Out. Out. Thank you.
I have witnesses.
I don't
That will
care.
verify it.
I don't care. He moved out twice, and when he moved out, he took his furniture with him.
Yes, correct.
And give me the dates that you say he moved out with his furniture.
Okay, he moved out 2 months after he moved in. He moved in his furniture straight from storage to my house in March. So he moved it out in May.
In May of '09.
May of '09.
And what did he move out?
He moved out the dining room table, the bedroom set, the living room set, and the 165-inch TV.
When did he move back in?
He moved back in, like, right after that. It was literally a couple of weeks. I mean...
Fine. And when did he move out again?
He moved it again 2 months later again.
Okay, so sometime in July.
Right.
And when he moved out again, did he move out with or without his furniture?
Without.
On what date did he move out without his furniture?
That would have been, well, I kind of kicked him out a few times between there, though. I had actually asked him to move out because I couldn't afford him.
Month and year?
April 2010. Nothing's ever left my house since then.
When he moved out in April of 2010, did he take his furniture?
No, I returned it to him in March.
Then he took it with him?
No, I did. I moved it out, me and my girlfriend, Rebecca.
I don't care whether he moved it out. It was with him in 2010.
Yes, at the beginning, yes. But after April 2010, it's been in my possession.
I don't care.
Okay.
He was in your possession.
Yeah, he was.
He was. So that's where his furniture was. He was in your possession. Okay. Now you can tell me your story about why he doesn't have his furniture.
Okay.
January 2011.
Right.
He moved out.
He moved out that date, yes. The last time he had moved in was April 2010. He was returning the furniture and he was moving back in, okay? He has never been able to keep a job. He gets fired from the lot, and so I never had steady payments coming in. And so basically, when he moved in that last time, because I had returned his furniture to him because I was sick of him harassing me, okay? We moved back in April. My girlfriend Rebecca was there, and my daughter, okay? My girlfriend was like, when are you going to move the furniture out again?
Don't tell me what your girlfriend said. Just tell me what
This is what he stated.
To whom?
To me, directly, on April of 2010.
Stated to you, go ahead.
That this furniture, he promised me that he would never, ever move it out again, that it was mine to keep, and it was here to stay, that he wouldn't do this to our family again. And as for the small TV, he gave that to my daughter when we first got together in March.
Anything else you want to tell me?
Basically, this furniture was given to me. It's everything I have in my home.
Listen to me. Okay. Anything else that you haven't told me that you want to tell me?
My house was fully furnished before I had full furnished, and these guys are the ones who he had me give it to.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. Your house may have been fully furnished and you gave away stuff. Even after you gave away your stuff, when he moved in his stuff, you recognized the fact that it was his furniture because he took it twice.
Right.
Took it twice. Shh. You're not paying attention.
Okay.
He took it twice, even after you had given the furniture to somebody else.
I hadn't given my furniture away yet.
Are you telling me you hadn't given away your furniture in April 2010? You had his furniture and your furniture in the house?
When he moved out the 2 times, I still owned my furniture. I hadn't given away my furniture yet.
Is what you're telling me in April 2010 you had both your furniture and his furniture in the house?
No, not in April 2010.
You have to give him back his furniture. And he's going to come within 5 days with an order from me. He gets back his furniture, and then you don't have anything to do with each other anymore. He gets back the stuff he brought into the relationship. He's not taking any stuff that you bought when you were living together. It's all stuff that was purchased after 2008. Listen to me. He's taking back his stuff, the stuff that he purchased before he met you, before he knew who you were, that he took with him 2 occasions himself and 1 occasion when you actually delivered it, according to you, to him.
Yes.
But when he's coming within 5 days. Now, very briefly, let's talk about your counterclaim.
Okay. He tore up my side yard. He wanted to be included in the house. That was his project. He had 4 inches dug down deep so the cement could be laid. I'm getting notices from the police department, and I'm getting notices from the
what is your claim?
Association.
What is your claim?
I need him to go ahead and take care of the side yard that he tore up, and then I'm asking...
Did he tear up the side yard with your permission?
Did he? That was his man project that I gave him.
We don't have courts to deal with that.
Yeah.
Ms. Oropeza.
We
don't have courts to deal with the fact that you gave them a man project to do.
Okay.
And he didn't do it to your satisfaction, so now you've got to deal with it.
Well, I've got past utilities that he left me. Very, very, very bad situation. My ex-husband even had to give up his lease so that he could help me. I had to go get help from a church. This guy sponged off me for so long. I supported him for so long. He gave me that furniture replacement.
Listen to me. What does he have to do with your utility bill?
He would live there for 2 years, and he never kept a job.
Well, that's your problem. You let him go, then he came back. You let him go, and if he lived with you for 2 years, and you didn't listen to me. You made a mistake. If he is a loser, he was your loser. Right. We don't have courts for that.
I didn't find this out until later, Your Honor.
Well, but that's not my problem. That's not the court's problem. That's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, if I could...
Suing her former friend, 24-year-old Jared Stinson, for denting her car when he punched and kicked it during a drunken fit.
According to what I read, which Mr. Stinson seems to agree with in his answer, you, Mr. Stinson, and some other people decided to go to a club.
Party, yes.
Party. And you went to the party, and Mr. Stinson had probably too much to drink. So far, is that correct, Mr. Stinson?
That is correct.
According to you, he started to sort of act out while he was at the party, and you tried to get him outside, but he continued, according to you, to be a little obnoxious when he got outside. And you decided that unless he behaved himself, you weren't giving him a ride home, which had been the plan. So far, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember the evening? Mr. Stinson, do you remember the evening?
Bits and pieces of it.
Okay. And your lawsuit says that at some point you decided that he wasn't getting in the car because he was acting like a fool, which
Correct.
tends to happen when you drink too much. So you drove off without him, and he started to bang on your car as you were pulling away, denting your car. Then when you got sort of down the road, you had second thoughts about leaving him there, and you drove back to get him, but he was still acting like an idiot because he was drunk, and he kicked your car. That's what your lawsuit is about. You want him to pay for the damage that he caused to your car.
Correct.
By punching it and kicking it. So far, is that a fair synopsis of what your lawsuit is?
Yeah, it's fair, except for the car wasn't moving when he punched the windows the first time. We pretended like we were going to drive off. We actually weren't going to leave him. We just wanted him to get the idea to calm down before you get in the car, because when we were on our way to the party, he kept bothering me while I was driving, and it was really dangerous. And at one point, like, the wheel was kind of moving a little bit. So I didn't want that to be repeated on our way leaving the party. So we got in the car. Me and two of my girlfriends locked the door, and just kind of the second we locked the door, just to, you know, make sure that...
Try to sober him up.
Yeah, try to sober him up. And, yeah, he proceeded to punch the window, so...
Okay. Would you tell me, just very briefly, and I don't need a whole long visual, what was he doing inside the party that caused you to leave?
You don't want a visual?
Yeah, I don't want a visual. Just
Okay,
tell
because
me.
it was mostly visual. It was very loud and just belligerent and yelling and playing beer pong very violently.
How many people were there?
At the party, it was an apartment, so maybe about 20, 30.
Okay. Now, Mr. Stinson, tell me what you remember of the evening.
Okay. I'm
The
sorry.
bits and pieces.
Sorry, the bits and pieces. So we were at this party, and Imani was the designated driver. I was...
The designated drunk.
Yeah, I guess. The designated drunk. I had a few drinks. Like, finals were over, so, and she was the driver, so I got a little bit too drunk.
Did you punch her car?
I did punch her car. I hit her
Did you
car.
kick her car?
I did hit her car, but
Who's supposed to pay for that?
I'm supposed to pay for it.
Perfect. Can I see the estimate, please?
Sure.
Wish it was all so easy. Can I see pictures of your car, Miss Stormer?
Sure.
That's a nice picture of the car. I don't see any damage. There I see a little damage. You're talking about right over here?
Yeah, it was really hard to take a picture of the actual dent.
And is this where he kicked your car? Is that
Yes, in
that's
the
it?
back of it, yes.
That's it? Okay. You want to see the pictures?
Yeah.
Or you've seen them?
Please. I haven't seen them.
Did you apologize, Mr. Stinson, the next day? Mr. Stinson?
Well, I sent her a text message saying, I believe I acted out.
Yes. You believe you acted out and?
Right.
Can I say...
That was it, saying that I believe that I acted out.
And sorry, or I just believe I acted out? I mean,
Was there an apology in there?
No, there's no apology. He actually said his exact word. Well, first, throughout the night, it was just cursing and stuff. And then at the end of the night, he said, "Oh, I really messed up tonight, didn't I?" And then, of course, I said, "Yes, you did." And then the next day, he said, "Hey, you want to go out tonight?" And of course, I said no because of all the things that happened. He, he completely didn't remember what happened. That he thought everything was okay and wanted to still go out. And it was like, "No, you damaged my car. Like, it's not all good."
have you seen him since?
No, I haven't. It's the first time I've seen him since the incident.
Okay. All right, good.
No, this isn't making sense.
Thank you. Mr. Stinson, when you get drunk, you sometimes do stupid things. You know, finals are over, that's a great thing. When finals are over, and I know that this is not a standard, but when my finals were over, all I wanted to do was go to sleep, you know. Getting drunk was sort of not the remedy. It was not the RX for finals being over. By the way, how did you do?
Okay on one.
Okay on one.
Yeah.
And on the other?
Not so good.
Stay sober, Mr. Stinson. You owe her $1,165.30 to fix up the damage from your drunken evening. Look like a nice young man. Learn from a mistake. That's all. Thank you.
While he's are excused, you may step out.
Yeah, we were kicked out of the party. It was extremely embarrassing.
Yeah, I definitely got kicked out of the party.
And as I'm trying to vouch and say that we were the quietest ones at the party,
I don't know how to explain my behavior.
he's yelling at the guy whose house it is.
That's not in my character to act like that.
And, you know, proving that what I'm saying isn't right.
I'm not typically like that.
When he drinks, he's always like that.
That's just not me.
Your Honor, case number 70 on the calendar in the matter of Rodriguez versus Guyton. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Rodriguez, this is your claim. This young lady is a friend of your niece. There was a New Year's Eve party.
At my house.
Correct. And your name?
My name is Janelle.
Janelle. And Janelle came over to your house by car.
Yes.
Her mother's car.
Yes.
Because she's... And you asked her to run an errand for you.
Yes.
Where did you ask her to go?
To Bravo Supermarket, which is about 9 miles from my house, to pick up some food.
For the party?
Yes.
Was she taking your niece with her?
Yes, they had been shopping all day.
They had been out shopping? In whose car?
In Mary's car.
And when you asked her to go to the store for you, what did she say?
She said no problem. When she was done shopping, she'll come over to my house.
Oh, so they were shopping. They hadn't been to your house. But then they came to your house and you asked her to go to the store.
Yes.
How did she get your car to go to the store?
Okay, when she came into my house, she said to me, Miss Evelyn, my mom is as usual about gas and about the car. I said, listen, to avoid any problems, it's New Year's Eve, we're having this party, just take my car. Here's the
Fine.
keys.
So you gave her the keys to your car?
Yes.
No. Don't speak.
Sorry.
You gave her the keys to your car, and she was running an errand for you in your car.
Yes.
And she had an accident in your car.
Shayna had the accident.
Shayna had the accident in your car.
Yes.
So on the way back, you let her drive.
No.
Who had the accident?
Shayna.
Well, how did she get the car keys?
I never received the car keys.
She was always driving.
Yes, I was driving my mother's vehicle.
In any event, the car was in an accident, and you want this lady to pay for the damage. Just a second. That's what the lawsuit is.
For half of the damages.
You want her to pay for half of the damages. Under what theory?
Under the theory that I gave Janelle the keys to my car, and my fiance Fabricio is a witness to that, and I specifically told her, you go straight to the supermarket, you drive the car, and you come right back and you park the car and call me when you get home. When they had the accident, Janelle called me on my cell phone and said, Miss Evelyn, accident, I'm sorry, I need you to come over here. I said, where are you? When I arrived to the scene, she was crying, telling me, I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
Yeah,
I
that's
let
why.
Shayna drive your car.
Let me explain something to you, Miss Rodriguez. That's why you don't give somebody else's minor child keys to a car.
Well, the reason why I did it is because she's insured and she's a licensed driver, and she has driven my car before with no problem.
Listen to me. You don't give somebody else's minor child the keys to your car without checking with their mother first and saying to them if she's 15 or 16 or 17, is it okay if your daughter drives my car? If she was in an accident in your car and she was injured, her mother would sue you. She would say, you can't give my minor child permission to drive a car. I would never give a minor child permission to drive my car. I had lots of teenagers. They came with their friends. If my son said, hey, you want to drive my mom's car? And gave the other person the keys to the car to drive, and they had an accident, that kid's mother wouldn't be responsible for the damage to the car or damage to anything.
I lent her the car because once she's insured, and I knew that she's licensed. And then at the scene, I understand that.
No, you don't understand because you're repeating yourself.
Right, but
I may have. Listen to me.
They both agree.
Listen to me. She cannot be responsible because you cannot give somebody's minor child permission to use your car without their permission. You can't do that. Her daughter wasn't even at fault in the accident. She was. Does she live with you?
No, she was here on vacation, in Florida on vacation.
She's your sister's daughter?
My brother's.
Sue your brother.
He's paying for half of the damages.
And you pay for the other half. You shouldn't have let her have the car.
Well, at the accident, they agree. When the officer came, we also called her, and she came to the accident, and we had an agreement that she would pay for half of the damages. Our house, Mary and I, with my brother on the phone, agree that Janelle and Mary will pay for half of the damages, and Shayna and Eddie will pay.
Just a second. Did you agree to pay for half the damage?
Why would I?
I don't know why you would. You're not legally responsible for half the damage. Plaintiff had no...
She tried to talk me into it several times, and we were not ever best friends. I just wanted to say that.
What
we
you're
were
telling me,
acquaintances and friends.
Don't speak to her.
And
Listen to me.
I stood there in the sidewalk to support her because she was very upset.
Let me ask you this question. What did you tell Miss Rodriguez about why you couldn't use your car?
I told her that my mother was on my back about using the car and gas and whatnot, and me not using the car.
I don't understand you not using the car. I'm not talking about the gas. Not using the car for what?
Because it was New Year's Eve, and me, I was just upset about the whole situation.
I didn't ask you whether you were upset. I just want you to follow my question to you. Did you tell Miss Rodriguez that it was New Year's Eve and your mother didn't want you out on the road?
I told her that, and also about gas. I primarily told her that my mom was about gas.
Did you tell her just about gas?
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yes. It was about gas.
Just about gas, not that it was New Year's Eve.
Right.
Shh. Just asking. Are you saying yes to what? I said
Yes,
two different
ma'am.
things.
Yes, about gas.
Just about the gas. You didn't say anything about New Year's Eve, and my mom doesn't want me out on the road. Had your mother had a discussion with you about driving New Year's Eve?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said she didn't want me driving, and...
Look here.
She said she didn't want me driving. She didn't want me using driving. She didn't want me the gas and all this whole issue. And I told her that Miss Evelyn had stated that, you know, she'd give me money and to run the errand. And then we got into an argument as I was leaving once again.
You mean with your mother?
Yes.
So when you left your mother's house, did you tell your mother that Miss Rodriguez had asked you to run some errands for her?
Yes. Yeah.
And what did your mother say?
She never gave me a direct answer on whether or not.
What do you mean she never gave? What did she say? Miss Evelyn wants you to run errands for her, and?
She said, "Is she giving you gas?" And I told her, she said that she would give me money to pick up the food.
And your mother said?
She...
Think fast.
Ma'am,
Tell me the
we just got
truth.
into an argument. She never gave me a yes or no question, a yes or no answer. We got into an argument. I left the house. I went to Miss Evelyn.
You got into an argument?
Yes.
You don't remember what your mother said to you or you said to her?
I told her that Miss Evelyn wanted me to run an errand. She didn't give me a yes or no answer on the subject.
What did you say to your daughter?
I told her I want the car early. I got home from work around 4, and I said to her and her sister, today I want the cars home early. It's not a night to be driving. If we go out tonight, we all go out together, okay? I don't know how she was supposed to drive her car and my car at the same time, okay? She has to bring my car home. So how is she going to drive her car? If she would have taken, you know, the right thing, I think, was to tell her, I'll follow you home. I'll run in and I'll ask your mother if you can run an errand. She's not her mother.
No,
I'm her mother.
I understand. All I was trying to understand was whether you had the information when your daughter left the house that Miss Rodriguez was going to give her car to your daughter to drive. Did you have that information?
I had the information that she wanted her to run an errand. Yes.
In whose car?
In my car.
In your car?
Yeah.
But
she's insured to use my car.
No, I understand that. My question was, did you understand that Miss Rodriguez was going to have her use her car?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. Don't give me... I said, how did the accident happen?
I was tailgating Janelle because she wanted to return her car back to her mom's house.
Just a second. Now we're getting... Hey, you see that?
Evelyn Rodriguez says former friend Mary Nilda Guyton owes for damages to her car caused by her daughter's negligence.
Now, you had the accident up. How old are you, 17?
17.
Who do you live with?
My father.
Now, how did the accident happen?
Well, her mom was complaining about gas.
Listen to me. Don't give me... I said, how did the accident happen? You were driving.
Yes.
How did the accident happen?
I was tailgating Janelle going into her complex because she wanted to return her car back to her mom's house.
Oh, just a sec. Now we're getting, you see that? So you were following her so she could return her mom's car, because that was the arrangement.
Yes.
So you said you were tailgating her?
Yes.
And
since she was telling me to tailgate, she didn't stop, so I didn't stop. So while we was turning, I guess I turned a little too wide and ended up hitting another driver on the opposite side.
So you went into somebody else's lane?
Yes.
Sue your brother. You have no lawsuit against this lady.
Miss Judy, at the scene of the accident,
I
and
don't
we
care.
even spoke in the week,
I
I
don't
have
care.
text messages and her letter to prove it that she was going to pay for half of the damages.
Well, she's not responsible for half the damages. Maybe she thought she was, but she's not.
Because I lent her and I put the keys in her hand.
Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to say it again. You had no right to put the keys to your car in a minor child's hands.
But her mom has given her permission to drive my aunt's car
Sit.
before.
She had the accident. She was negligent. You knew that they were going out together.
Well, they had been shopping all
Ms.
day
Rodriguez,
in Mary's car.
Sue your brother.
And that's why I came here, because she agreed. We had a verbal agreement, though, and I have all the paperwork here from her agreeing to pay for half of the damages.
It's not her legal responsibility.
Even though she verbally agreed to it, and we talk about it, and she comes to my house and agrees to pay for half of the damages?
No, it's not.
And it's even here in writing.
Listen to me. It's not. I'm going to tell you why. Because she may have thought she was responsible because the two girls were sort of together. I'm telling you, she has no legal responsibility. It's your legal responsibility not to place a potentially dangerous instrumentality in the hands of somebody else's minor child.
I didn't think she was potentially, because she's been
Goodbye,
driving
Miss Rodriguez.
and
You're
picking
not
up my
paying
child in her
attention.
vehicle, and she's driven my vehicle before.
Goodbye, Miss
No
Rodriguez.
problem.
You're not paying attention.
The fact that as a friend she had a verbal agreement.
I was there to advise her
that we will pay half and half of the damages.
But not to say, here, I'm going to pay for your damages.
I took her word from knowing her, thinking that they were honest.
Because I wasn't at the accident.
But unfortunately, you get to find out the true colors of people when things like this happen, when money is involved.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Walters versus Thompson. Step forward.
Kim Walters is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Deshaun Thompson, for loans to pay other outstanding loans and his utility bills.
Ms. Walters, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours for a brief period of time. You claim that you made 2 loans to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thompson acknowledges that you took care of a couple of bills for him, your own. There was never any discussion of repayment, and they were gifts, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When, for the first time, did Miss Walters make a gift to you, Mr. Thompson, of money?
It was in February. She had paid my cell phone bill.
February of 2011?
Yes.
And how long had you dated up until that time?
It had been a couple months, but I talked to her over the phone for over a year when she was in a previous relationship.
Okay. Now, how did she find out, sir, that your cell phone bill was overdue?
Because she was always at my house, and...
She was at your house?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I had bills, statements, and everything come in the mail. And then one day, my phone was off.
Okay. She didn't find out about the bill from being in your house. She found out that your phone was disconnected.
Correct.
And you saw her later after your phone was disconnected?
She was trying to get in contact with me, and then I called her up and told her that she had to call me at my job.
How did you call her?
Called her up from my job at work.
Tell me about the conversation, sir.
I told her that my phone had get disconnected. She had to call me at my dealership where I work at.
And she said?
She said she would give me a call at the dealership. She called me a couple times. Then she went and paid her cell phone bill on her own. I didn't even ask her to pay it. She paid it, gave me my number at Sprint, and paid my cell phone bill.
And you never asked her to do that?
Never asked her to pay my bill.
Were you surprised when your phone was turned back on?
Yes, I was, and I talked with her, and she said that she took care of it for me.
And then what happened?
Then it came down to I had a bill. We were discussing it. My electrical bill.
Tell me about the discussion about the other bill.
We had a discussion that I was a little bit depressed because a lot of my bills were, behind.
Why were they behind, Mr. Thompson?
Because I started a new job and I own my house outright, and everything that I have is basically financed on my own. I don't have any loans or anything like that on my home. So things were a little bit stressful for me. She asked why I was stressed out, and I said, I have all these bills overwhelming me. I just started a new job, don't have a whole lot of money coming in, and I have all these bills overwhelming me. She volunteered to take...
No, not volunteered. And she said to you what?
If you need some help, I'll help you. And then the first time I said, no, I don't need your help. 2 or 3 more times came up. She said, I'll help you if you need my help. So I said, I don't mind you helping me. The last time, the 4th time around, I don't mind you helping me. And that's what she did.
Well, what was that bill for, sir?
It was my electrical and property bill.
How much was the bill?
$1,000.
Show me.
I gave him $1,000. I put it into his account.
Show me.
Okay. And also, this is when I withdrew the money from my account.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Walters?
I have 2 daycare centers. I'm self-employed.
How long have you had the daycare centers?
For 3 years.
Who lives at home with you?
Me and my 3 children.
Who supports your 3 children?
I do.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
Who else do you support?
My son.
How old is he?
3.
And how much money do you send to him?
$600 a month.
Great. So you pay that $600 every month for one child?
Yes, I do.
Where do you think she's supposed to get money to take care of your electric bill on a house that you own free and clear, on a utility bill for $1,000? Where do you think she's supposed to get that money from? Where do you think she's supposed to get the money from?
I guess her company she owns.
The company she works at to support her 3 children. Now, I don't care about his phone bill. I want you to understand that right now. You can't get in touch with him. You turned on his phone. That's your problem. I want to hear about his utility bills. I'd like to hear about how it came about that you put this $1,000 in his account.
I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and Deshaun called me all weekend. He even texted me and said that my electric bill is going to get cut off, and he said I don't have the 11th.
What happened on March 11th?
I believe he was getting paid.
How many times a month do you get paid?
I get paid once a week, and then we get a settlement on the 10th of every month.
Settlement of what?
We get our commission settlement.
So that you would have extra money on March 11th.
Right.
Go ahead.
And then he asked me, he said, well, when you give me the $1,000, I will, give you the money back. He said the money for the phone and the utility bill. I said, not a problem. That Monday, I got back, I deposited the money that Tuesday into his account.
Just my own curiosity, on what date did you go to Sprint and pay his phone bill?
The 4th.
4th of what?
February.
And then you were able to get in touch with him. Do you have a hard line at your house?
No.
No. Just your work number?
Yes.
And your cell phone?
Yes. I also have a text message that I sent to her while she was in Atlanta, telling her not to worry about any of my, any of me. I'm pretty much covered.
Yeah, very
much. I have that text message on my phone.
You're going to pay back the $1,000 for utilities for you and your kid that live part-time in the house. Do you understand? She has 3 children. She doesn't have to take care of your electric. The phone bill was her own stupidity because she wanted to be able to get in touch with you, but not the utility bill. Do you understand, sir? Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Pardon your excuse. You may step out.
Ended our relationship. She got kind of upset.
It was a loan. He asked me.
She wanted every gift, anything she gave back, wanted it back.
So I was trying to help him out as a friend.
No, it's nothing there.
He wasn't no good, so I learned my lesson.
Yeah, that's case number 129 on the calendar in the matter of Rutherford versus Allen.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Rutherford, you moved in with a defendant who had leased a 2-story house. Is that correct?
Correct.
You moved into the downstairs?
Correct.
And she had a lease signed with the landlord. You had a lease signed with her.
I did not sign a lease.
Did you sign any document with her?
Not when I moved in.
Subsequently?
Correct, yes.
When?
When the house went into foreclosure and it went into the bank, we then signed a lease with a property management company.
Okay, when was that?
That was August of 2010.
Okay, so let's start with August of 2010. What do you think she owes you money for going forward, August of 2010, when you were both on the lease?
She was telling me still that rent was $1,600. The rent was $1,300.
Just a minute. You both signed the lease. Didn't you look at the lease?
I did. The lease that I signed was for $1,600, not for $1,300.
I'd like to see it.
This is the lease that says $1,300. When I found out she was scamming me, I went to the real property company and I got a copy of the lease that they had on file.
Listen to me, Miss Rutherford.
I don't think so.
If you're old enough to live on your own, and if you sign a lease, you read it, and if what you're telling me is that the lease that you signed, somebody fraudulently made out for $1,600 a month, I need to see a copy of that. You have to be a grown-up and have a copy of that for me.
I do not have a copy of that. Sherry asked that I sign the lease and that she would return a copy to me with the property management signature on it, which she never returned to me.
You mean she wants you to sign a lease in blank and then she gets you a signed copy? It's ridiculous. Miss Rutherford, she didn't scam you. That's not a scam. It's just that you weren't vigilant. I've never signed a blank lease in my life. Like the landlord saying, here, sign this here and I will fill in all the spaces, how much rent it is, how much rent the total is. You just give it back to me and I'll fill in the details later. You just sign it. People don't do that. I don't know what you want from me.
She falsified this lease. When she originally showed it to me, it wasn't a blank lease. She showed me a lease that said $1,600. I signed it.
All you have to do is show me your copy.
Can I show you an email from her saying that we're saying it was $1,600?
I'll take a look at that.
Would you like to see the lease?
No. I want to see your lease. And you don't have your lease.
That email is not from me, though.
Who is this from?
That's Star.
From her?
I don't exactly know what's written in that email.
I'm going to read it.
Okay.
Sit.
I'm sorry.
Who did she write this to?
She wrote that to me and Sherry.
Just a second. So you knew that they were withholding rent? That's what it says here. You knew that they were withholding rent. You sort of make it appear in here as if you didn't know that they were withholding rent.
She told me in...
Who told you?
Sherry told me in March, after I had paid rent for January, February, and March. She told me in March...
This is in April.
Yes, April 6th.
And you don't have anything else to show me in writing that indicates that your rent was to be any less than $700 a month, and you were actually either her tenant or the landlord's tenant on an entire lease, that each of you was jointly and severally responsible for the lease. Is that right?
That Sherry and I were on the lease.
The two of you were on the lease.
Mm-hmm.
The landlord didn't cut the lease in half. The landlord said, this is the whole rent. The two of you are responsible for the whole rent, right?
Yes.
So that's what you paid, $700. What else do you think you're entitled to?
If I was paying $700, I'd be paying more than half of the rent.
So what?
Her living space was twice as big as mine.
Doesn't matter. She was living there first. She can make up whatever rules she wants. She can say to you, I want you to pay $1,100 a month rent. You can say, I'm not paying $1,100 a month rent. It's too much rent. She can give you any figure she wants. She's your landlord.
She lied to me.
Oh. It doesn't matter whether she
Your Honor,
lied to you.
actually, when Lindsay started...
Listen to me. So far, you're not losing, right?
No, totally.
Yeah,
I know.
so far, you're not losing.
I am owed money,
right
though.
Or wrong, but so far, you're not losing. So far, the plaintiff lived in a residence, and she lived there for the time that she paid rent. She paid rent to you. You paid rent to the landlord. Then you were both on a lease, which she doesn't have a copy of.
Correct.
I do.
Well, then I'd like to see it. Is that the lease that you signed?
My signature is on the back of this page. This isn't the lease that I saw when I signed it.
Throw it in the garbage.
Your Honor,
Then throw it in the garbage.
She gave me a lease.
Listen to me. Throw it in the garbage. It's your responsibility to go to the leasing agent and say, I want my copy of the lease. You give somebody a blank signature on a copy of the lease, they're going to take it and paste it in whatever order they want to paste it on whatever product they want. You lived there. You paid rent. You got value for what you paid. And if you think that I am going to, or any court is going to take measurements as to who has greater space, you or the defendant, and see who had more and who should be paying more, courts don't do that. They rely on people to act in a vigilant fashion. And if you sign a lease, if you're grown up enough to live alone, you're grown up enough to get a copy of the lease so that you know in August 2010 how much the entire rent is on the premises.
When I signed
And
the
if she
lease,
lied to you, she lied to you.
she falsified that document.
I don't know whether she did or whether she didn't. It's only your word that she falsified the document because you don't have the document.
What about the email that she wrote saying that it was $1,600?
She didn't write this.
The other person that lived in our house did.
But she didn't write this. The other person's a witness. She's like, not here. Now you can say whatever you want to say.
Oh, she has two last pages of this lease. Okay,
It's not a lease. It's not the lease she signed.
Okay, well, I just wanted you to know that there are 2 page 10s of this lease.
It's not the lease she signed,
Okay.
she says.
Okay.
It's a cut and paste. That's not a contract.
Okay.
That's not a contract. She doesn't have the lease she signed.
She trusted her.
I trust nobody, but that doesn't mean it's a lawsuit. Okay. This is your daughter, I assume?
This is my daughter.
This is your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to tell her that when she signs a lease, she gets a copy and she doesn't sign anything in blank.
It wasn't blank when she signed it.
Then she should have a copy of it, which she doesn't have.
No, she doesn't. She was told she was going to get one, and then she never did.
Ugh.
Okay.
You're not following. You understand exactly what I'm saying to you.
I understand what you're saying.
What you're proposing to give me is not a contract, because what you're proposing to give me is not what she signed. That's what she says. It's a piece of paper at the end because it's her signature, but it's not a copy of what she signed. In any event, you live there. So stop complaining. You paid rent. You paid too much rent. In your mind, then next time you'll be more vigilant. Now, if you rent from somebody, which you originally did from Miss Allen, and I'm going to say this only one more time, and then we're moving on to something else, you're supposed to figure out how much the entire rent on the premises is. Sometimes Miss Allen may have gotten rent that was great. She may have a landlord that says, listen, you can sublet the apartment and your rent is $500. And she says to you, we live in a great neighborhood, I'm charging you $750. She's allowed to do that and pocket the other $250. She can do that. She can say, I want you to pay $450 rent. My rent is $500. I'm only going to pay $50 because I was smart enough to get this apartment. I was lucky enough to get this apartment. What else do you think she owes you for?
When I moved in, I paid her a $500 deposit.
You paid a security deposit?
Correct.
Okay. And when did you move out?
I moved out June 1st of 2011.
And when did you move out?
I moved out in May 1st of 2011. I was actually kind of borderlining between April.
I don't care. Where's her $500 security?
That went to the old landlord that got foreclosed on, and that turns over to the rental property management.
Who did you make the check payable to?
Sherry Allen.
And it went directly to...
That's your problem. Don't tell me it went directly to. You owe $500.
It's fine.
What's next?
The last 3 months, January, February, and March, I continued to pay her rent as normal. And in March, she informed me that she didn't turn that money over to the real estate property company. That was confirmed when I went in to get a copy of the lease that said the rent was $1,300. They told me we had a...
Don't tell me what they told you.
Okay.
If what you're saying is you gave her money for rent, and she didn't turn it over to the leasing company, and you have a lease with them, so you would be responsible if they didn't pay rent.
Yes.
Show me where that exists.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me carefully. You have to pay rent where you keep your stuff. And if you have 2 premises, you have to pay rent in 2 premises. Put your hand down. Stop being a baby. Your mother's going to treat you like...
Cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lindsay Rutherford says former roommate Sherry Allen overcharged her for rent. Sherry is countersuing for unpaid rent and utility bills and for the return of property.
Now, show me in a statement, show me in something that they are coming against you for all or part of the rent for those 3 months.
For you.
Yes.
I have.
She doesn't have it.
She doesn't have it because the rental property company is actually going to be going after her for $3,900 because the 3 months rent that we withheld has been paid to the rental property management. Lindsay jumped the gun saying that I was scamming her out of money. I had to figure out what was happening with the rental property management, all the electricity issues with the property, and figure out with the rental property management what was going to happen with those 3 months withheld rent.
Let me see.
They have been taken care of, and Lindsay actually lied in this courtroom saying that she left June 1st. In there it says she's still residing there and has no plans of moving.
That's not true,
She
Your
just
Honor.
lied to you, Your Honor.
That's not true, Your Honor.
It is.
Just a second. She still resides where?
She's still living at the property.
Yes, Miss Rutherford. Are you still living at the premises? That's very easy to find out.
I am in the process of moving out.
Your case is dismissed.
Your
case is dismissed, including your $500.
Thank you.
Actually, pretty outrageous.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I have a lease for a new place that I'm paying at.
Are you living in the apartment that you once shared with them?
I still have some belongings there. I'm in the process of moving out.
Your case is dismissed.
She hasn't notified them or anything. So.
All of it. You understand?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
I'm sorry for you. She's not a baby anymore. You treat her like a baby, she's going to stay a baby. Sit down. According to this from the property management, you still live there and you haven't paid rent from April through June. That's what it says. Did you know that? Mom, did you know that? Did you know, yes or no, that your daughter was living in the apartment and hasn't paid rent there?
I know she has been living there, but she was paying rent.
No, not according to them. She didn't pay any rent for June. Did you pay rent for June?
No, yes, I did pay rent for June.
Not according to them. So you're telling me that the leasing company is lying?
No, I signed a lease at another. So I looked up California code.
That's all.
I'm paying rent at another place, and I'm moving the rest of my things out of MacArthur.
Listen to me carefully. If you have a toothbrush at MacArthur, you have to pay rent. You have a toothbrush, you have a washcloth, you have a pair of underpants, you have to pay rent where you keep your stuff. And if you have two premises, you have to pay rent in two premises. Put your hand down. Stop being a baby. If your mother's going to treat you like a baby, you're going to stay a baby.
Can I say one more thing in regards to that?
No, I've already dismissed the whole case.
Okay. I just wanted
you
to
want to
say
give me a counterclaim?
there are liens that are being placed against the property now for garbage, PG&E, water, everything that is actually going to be being applied to Lindsay as well for occupying your residence.
I don't care.
Okay.
Doesn't have anything to do with me.
Okay.
Okay? You have a counterclaim.
I do.
I didn't quite understand it. You have a couple of minutes to tell me what it's about.
So Lindsay actually was supposed to be paying $800 rent from April to August of 2010, and she was only paying $700. I have a lot of utility bills regarding PG&E, East Bay Mud that need to be paid. She has not paid basically anything towards those.
For what months?
From April 2010 to April of 2000.
And what took you a year to wake up?
Oh, trust me, I was trying to get my money. While we were living there, I kept telling Lindsay, I need to have this money. Oh, I'm sorry. My boyfriend's in jail, and I have to accept these collect calls, and it's costing me a lot of money, and I'll pay you when I can get a chance. And then her boyfriend moved into the property, and all of my bills skyrocketed, sky high.
Should have put him out.
I was actually working with rental property management in February to evict her.
Put your hand down.
In February to evict her, but due to the problems at the house and due to the fact that her boyfriend is a really scary guy, we decided to get out. I even had to go down to the DA's office and get his record. This guy is not a nice guy.
Listen to me. Are you out of the apartment now?
I am. I have bills that are still basically racked up from her not paying anything and housing her criminal boyfriend in the property.
Listen to me. It's not my problem. Should have put him out.
It wasn't that
You're
simple,
finished.
Your Honor.
Yeah,
you want to address her counterclaim?
Yes.
You want to address her counterclaim?
Yes, please.
Go.
Okay. I have copies of checks that I sent to her on all the bills that I paid.
Good. Let me see what your checks are.
Would you like me to separate the checks that don't have bills on them?
No.
No.
Your rent is $700, and this is $705. So far I have $5. Then I have a check for $850, so I have $150. Then I have one in October for $160.
That was for bills.
Shh. This is for $700. This is for $800. 2010. So in the time that you lived there, you paid $755 towards utilities.
But, Your Honor, 100 of that went towards the cremation of my kitten because her dog killed my cat. I took partial responsibility for it. She paid 100 and I paid 100.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Good. So we have $655 that you paid in total. Of how many months did you live there?
12.
$655 divided by 12 equals $54 a month that you paid towards utilities in the 12 months that you were there. Okay. And what were the utility bills that you have? Just add them up.
I have East Bay.
Add them up.
Can you please look at these?
No. I just want you to tell me the total amount of the utility bills.
For Lindsay's portion, broken down to a third, is $1,555.62, Your Honor. I didn't calculate it in a whole as a whole household. I just calculated the difference of Lindsay's portions, which is $1,555.62.
What do you mean the difference of Lindsay's portion?
Her half. Her half of the bill.
She doesn't pay half.
No, Your Honor.
My apartment was so much smaller than hers.
She doesn't pay.
She was using
Honor.
a lot more electricity.
Look, ladies, you're no longer together. You have $500 extra. Listen to me.
I don't have $500 extra. That went to the rental property management, and it's going to be put towards the 3 months' rent that she hasn't been paying on.
Listen to me. It didn't go to them because it went to you. You took her $500.
It went to the landlord that got foreclosed on, Your Honor.
I can't help you, my dear.
Your Honor.
Can't help you, my dear.
She owes me so much money. We still have outstanding East Bay mud bills, PG&E bills, and I don't have rent from her for July, August, or November. I don't have any record of rent from her for July, August, or November.
You have the checks, Your Honor. You have the checks.
For July?
August and November. I don't have it in my records.
Different story.
Okay. I don't have record of that.
Just a second. I'm going to give it to you. If it's here, it's here. If it's
August and November.
She's lying.
July
August
is here.
Okay. I didn't have it in my records. August, I didn't have.
You endorsed the check.
Shh. There's something wrong with you. Do you take medication?
No.
No, you take. Do you take medication?
I do not.
Maybe you should. 8/6/7/13. She has July, or she has the months. Okay, that's all, ladies. Go.
Your
Bye-bye.
Honor, I don't get anything on the utilities that are still
As far as our
owed.
excuse, you may step out.
Okay, we'll get the sewer again in a couple months.
Jerry lied to me. She falsified an official document.
It's ridiculous.
I found out that they were scamming me.
Is Lindsay the liar?
And that they kept 3 months of my rent.
This is not over.
And they weren't happy about it.
It's going to be continued.
They basically stole a lot of money from me.
Well, at least Lindsay doesn't get anything.
But
Now it's case number 139 on the calendar, the matter of Hopkins versus Vafi Vasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Hopkins, you are a police officer in California, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
How long have you been a police officer?
22 and a half years.
Your complaint alleges that after what was, to you, a routine stop for speeding, the defendants filed false claims against you with your department that caused an investigation, and despite the fact that they found that those charges were baseless after an investigation, that will remain in your record, and you want to be compensated for that. You say that they filed those charges purposefully and with absolutely no merit. The defendant said that they had just cause for filing those charges against you, so I'd like to hear first from them. Who was driving the car?
I was driving, Your Honor.
Mr. Vafi, how long have you been driving?
About 35 years.
And Officer Hopkins stopped you for speeding?
As he indicated, yes.
How many times have you been stopped for speeding?
In 2010, once. 2009, once. Attended traffic school, paid the ticket.
So are you telling me in the 35 years you've been driving, you've been stopped twice for speeding?
No, Your Honor.
Well, how many times have you been stopped for speeding?
I don't know. I don't know exactly how many times.
More than 10?
Probably. Throughout the 35 years, yes.
I mean, you think that that's actually normal. I've been driving, sir, for 50 years. I have never been stopped for speeding.
Okay.
So if you've been stopped for speeding over 10 times that you can't remember, that's a lot of speeding, right?
Right, Your Honor.
Now, we already know that Mr. Vafi is no stranger to being stopped for speeding. Would you tell me what happened when you stopped him and why you stopped him?
I was conducting traffic enforcement on Satakoy Street, which is a residential street. I observed a vehicle. Mr. Vafi was later identified as driving. I estimated his speed to be approximately 50 miles an hour at that time. Speed limit is 40 through there. I activated a handheld laser device. I targeted the defendant's vehicle as it was making its approach and obtained a lock speed of about 53 miles per hour. It continued climbing to 54, 55, all the way up to 57 miles per hour, at which time I waited for him to arrive to my position where I would enforce a traffic stop.
And you did, in fact, stop the car?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell me what happened when you approached the car?
As I do with all my traffic stops, I record them. I activate.
Did you record the stop from its inception?
Yes, I did.
Okay, now I'm going to Ms. Vasquez. Were you the person who originally filed the complaint?
Yes.
And how are you related to Mr. Vafi?
He's my fiance.
When he's with you, does he usually obey the traffic regulations?
Yes.
Yes, but he didn't on that day.
Based on what the officer is saying is correct.
You're not disputing the fact that he is correct that your fiance was speeding, are you?
He was speeding, but I don't think he was going 57 miles an hour, Your Honor.
He's speeding is speeding?
Correct.
Now, since you were the one who filed the complaint, I'd like to hear your version of the events when Officer Hopkins stopped your car.
When Officer Hopkins pulled us over, it seemed like it was
I don't want you to tell me what he seemed like. I want you to tell me.
It seemed like a movie. He was like a new sheriff in town that jumped in front of our car.
Listen to me.
Okay.
I want you to tell me not what it seemed like,
okay,
not what you thought.
No, this is what
I want you to tell me what he said to you and what your fiance said to him.
Basically, he
not basically.
And asked him for his driver's license, insurance, registration.
Okay, may I have driver's license, insurance, and registration?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Then he started to raise his voice, stating that, do you know why I pulled you over?
And who responded?
Ollie responded.
And he said?
No.
And Officer Hopkins said?
He started yelling and said, you don't know how to drive. You are speeding. This is not the way you should be driving.
Just a second. So he said, you don't know how to drive.
Correct. He was raising his voice.
Just not. Okay. You don't know how to drive. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm going to hear on this tape.
I don't know what you're going to hear on the tape since he didn't record the whole conversation.
I don't know whether he did or whether he didn't, but I'll be able to tell whether he did or whether he didn't.
Stated that he didn't. It's right here. I have paperwork which I can show you.
Go ahead.
It's that because it was dead air, he didn't record the whole conversation.
By the way, have you ever heard it?
No, I have not.
Go ahead.
At that point, he asked us to stay in this car, that he would be back, and he took off. When he came back, again, he started to raise his voice to state about the speeding. It seemed like it was a lecture.
It seemed to you as if it was a lecture.
Yeah, he was yelling and screaming.
He was yelling and screaming?
Correct.
Okay.
Your Honor. At that point, Ollie asked him, just give me the citation, let us go, because we had his mom in the car, which she's 82 years old. She had just been out of the hospital, and she was nervous, so we didn't want her being in that situation.
Then you shouldn't have been speeding. Keep going.
And at that point, he just continued on and on lecturing us. At that point, I said, excuse me, who do you work for? What department do you report to? And who is your supervisor? At that point, he acted like he didn't hear me, like I was a nobody there. He gives Ollie the ticket. Ollie gets it, and Ollie says, why did you put Hispanic? I'm not Hispanic. And he says, oh, you have an attitude. What's wrong with you? That's what he said on the day of the stop.
Okay. Now, on what date did you go in to file a complaint?
I didn't go. I called, ma'am. I called immediately.
Okay. Now, you called immediately before you started to drive the 82-year-old ill mother home?
Correct.
Or so before?
I was a passenger.
Just a second. Okay. Well, you weren't a passenger because you said in your answer that he was so upset you had to drive.
Correct.
So you weren't a passenger anymore. Now you were the driver.
Your Honor, correct. But we have a sync system, which is on the speakers, which you can talk on the vehicle. So when I was dialing while he was going across the street.
You were dialing?
The police station, which was the local police station, which was Van Nuys.
Okay. Now, very easy, Mr. Hopkins. Am I going to be able to hear that tape from here?
I believe you will, Your Honor.
Okay. Let me hear it.
Morning, sir. Good morning. Hey, the reason I waved you over is for your speed, because you're approaching me at 57 miles an hour. The speed limit is only 40 through here. Are you running late somewhere, or?
Not running late, just picking up some people for Sunday runs, that's all.
All right. Well, you're almost 20 over. That's pretty fast. Okay. What I need to see is your driver's license.
Will you stop it right there? So far, Miss Vasquez, you hear any yelling or screaming?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's go.
All right, sir. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going to do my job, and you're out of here, okay?
Could you turn that off, please, for a moment? Hear any yelling or screaming?
Not yet, ma'am.
You should turn that on again.
All right, sir. Citation's going to be for speed. Court date's going to be July 8th. You have between now and then to take care of it. See your autograph there. It's not admission of guilt. It says that you'll take care of it.
Up, stop. Hear any yelling or screaming?
No, but...
No. Hear any yelling or screaming?
Well, you're doing 20 over. What do you want?
I hope you have a wonderful Sunday and pays back to you.
Okay, well, I hope you do too, sir.
Just a second. Turn it off. What did you say to him?
I said you have a wonderful Sunday.
Nasty.
What?
You were being nasty, Mr. Vafi.
No, I said you have a wonderful Sunday.
You were being nasty.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The only thing he's got right is that you're a male. He's got your hair color wrong, your eyes...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Police officer David Hopkins says motorist Ali Vafi and fiancée Ruth Vasquez filed a false complaint against him after a traffic stop. The defendants claim Officer Hopkins was rude and belligerent.
There's no question in my mind you were being nasty.
Your Honor...
You have a wonderful Sunday?
Yeah, you have a wonderful Sunday.
Are you kidding me or what?
No, I'm not kidding you. You have a wonderful Sunday. And that tape, there are a lot of it that is not in there.
Absolutely correct.
Yes.
Why? Just a second. Absolutely. I don't know why. But I can tell something from the time that he stopped you in a perfectly normal, routine, non-confrontational, not like what she says, something out of a movie, he cut her off. And, not what she said. Something happened. Did you ask him, Mr. Vafi, whether he had stopped another car? Did you ask? I'm asking you a question. I want you to think hard. Did you say to him at any time, did you pull over another car that just went past me?
I did not say that.
There's a hesitation in your voice.
There was a car to my left that passed me very fast, and I happened to be the one getting stopped.
Just a minute. So you did, in fact, question the stop?
Of course.
What do you mean, of course?
I did, because I didn't feel that I was going 57 miles per hour.
Were you going over the speed limit?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
Were you going over the speed limit the other 10 or 20 times you got stopped for speeding?
I'm sure I was. The dispute about the speeding or the traffic ticket, Your Honor, this was about the behavior that the officer had towards me.
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what happened from this routine stop that sounds perfectly normal up until the time he comes back and says you have to be in court on July 8th.
Correct.
Nothing else happens, and he hands you the ticket.
Correct.
Now, what is it that you think, Mr. Vafi, changed his attitude from a totally appropriate one to an inappropriate one? What do you think that was, Mr. Vafi?
Because I pointed out on the ticket where he put Hispanic, and I looked at him, I pointed at the ticket.
What I would like you to do, Mr. Vafi, is I'd like you to circle on here what you're talking about. Now, thank you, Bert.
By the way, my children are half Hispanic.
Just a second. So. Okay. In the space where it said, and he didn't just write Hispanic across here for anything, there's a space where it says sex, hair, eyes, height, weight, race.
Correct.
Right? Sex,
yes,
got
please.
it right. Hair,
yes, please.
Black hair. Well, his hair isn't black. You didn't complain about that. Your hair's not black, is it?
No.
It may have been black
back
some
then.
time,
Way
but
back
it's not black. You didn't complain about that.
I like it like
Right?
this, though. Yeah.
Eyes, what color eyes do you have?
Brown.
Brown. How tall are you, Mr. Vafi?
5'9½".
Well, this says 5'10". That's mistaken.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all right.
Weight, what do you weigh?
About 185.
Well, this says 180. That's also wrong.
It's on your license.
And then it says race, and he's got HIS.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. Maybe that gives you different
Maybe
speed.
it gives you a different what? It's on the form.
He manually wrote his...
Oh, I understand that.
No, it's not
But if
about...
you would have heard
Just a second. The only thing he's got right is that you're a male. He's got your hair color wrong, your eyes, I don't know what it says, black. He's got your height wrong, he's got your weight wrong, he's got your race wrong. Even though, according to you, your children are half Hispanic. Is that
DMV
what
got
you
that
said?
wrong because that's what it shows on my driver's license.
What do you mean? Quiet. Are you Iranian or Hispanic?
I'm Hispanic.
All right. Now, at what point did you question his putting down Hispanic?
Well, it went on 3 times. Sometime in the beginning, he asked me if I were Hispanic, and I indicated no, I was Iranian. And somewhere in the middle, he asked again, "You're not Hispanic?" I said, "No, I'm not Hispanic. I am Iranian." That's the second time. Third time is when I got the ticket, I looked at it, and I didn't understand why he was insisting for me that day to be Hispanic for him.
When you didn't understand it, Mr. Vafi, what did you say to him?
I said, "I'm not Hispanic."
Is that what you said to him?
He had something on his agenda. I wasn't sure what it was. I just want to get the heck out of there.
If you just wanted to get the heck out of here, why didn't you just take the ticket and keep your mouth shut?
I just said, "Have a wonderful Sunday," and that's when, no, because prior to that, which is not on this tape, regarding my attitude, which I was cooperative, I gave him all the information that he asked me, okay? Regarding my attitude, you don't know how to drive, you need to learn how to drive around here.
Well, that's true.
No, it felt like there's a new sheriff. There's a way. I've been stopped before, as I indicated in the beginning. They treat you...
Evidently you didn't learn a lesson.
No, Your Honor, they treat you, okay, the officers, and their officer and gentleman. And they let you go nicely by giving you a ticket, letting you know what you did wrong. This gentleman had something else on his agenda that day.
I didn't hear that at the beginning of your stop. I didn't hear that, Mr. Vafi, at the beginning of the stop. I know something happened. I know something happened to change the attitude. And unless he's bipolar and psychotic, no, that's not what, he wasn't getting the ticket. And he didn't have an attitude, and you weren't intimidated, because "have a nice Sunday" is not something that you say to somebody, sir, who has just given you a ticket and who, according to you, has been disrespectful.
Absolutely.
What do you mean, absolutely?
Being disrespectful, I just want to let him know that he can have a nice Sunday after ruining our Sunday with his attitude.
After ruining your Sunday.
Not the ticket, Your Honor. It was his attitude.
Right. You've been watching too much television, sir, or you've been hanging around the Los Angeles water a little too long. How long did this investigation go on, Officer Hopkins?
Your Honor, this investigation went on for 11 months and 3 weeks.
I'd like to see one more thing. I would like to see the complaint, the written complaint.
I have a copy of this for you.
That both of the defendants filed.
This is the recording.
No, I don't want to see the recording. I want to see the written complaints that they filed. I've now heard their testimony. That's all I want to see.
Well, this would be them. That's it.
May I ask a question, Your Honor?
Usually not.
But this time?
Usually not, but I'm going to let you ask a question in a second. Okay, here you go. Here's the initial complaint that you made. Vasquez, that's you, stated that they were traveling next to another car and both slowed for the officer, but the officer signaled the other car to proceed and directed Vafi to the curb. Vasquez believed that Hopkins stopped them based on their race, because the other vehicle next to them was not stopped and was traveling faster. Vasquez stated she did not know the race of the other driver. Vasquez felt that Hopkins racially profiled Vafi.
Correct.
That's what you initially told the department. The department.
Sergeant, correct.
Okay, so according to you, Ms. Vasquez, you argued with the police officer. Correct. You didn't tell me that. You testified here. He asked the other car to slow down, looked at our vehicle, requested us to move over. So we moved over, and he asked us to park. He says, "Do you know why we're stopping you?" When we said no, he says, "You were going 57 miles an hour in a 40-mile zone." At that point, we told him, there is no way, you were in the middle of the street, we would have struck you.
Correct.
So you argued with him.
Correct.
You didn't tell me that. Did you forget that?
No, I didn't forget that, Your Honor. If he would have recorded the whole conversation, we wouldn't be in this situation, because it would have told the whole truth. I want to tell you something. Your fiancé was speeding. Correct.
He had an attitude. So did you. As soon as you were pulled over. That's according to your complaint. According to your complaint, he pulled you over based on race, nothing else. You were doing nothing wrong. And you called him a liar right at the beginning. You.
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just honestly made a complaint just as a citizen.
Just a waste of time. There's 11 months of investigating on something that
Because no one else should have to deal with officers like that.
they've already known and proven that these people are making it up.
He has a badge and he has a gun.
No, I do my best. I treat people good.
And he should do is protect and serve.
I treat people the way I'd want to be treated if I were in there.
That's case number 98 on the count in the matter of Phillip versus Madigan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Madigan, how old are you?
26.
What do you do for a living?
I'm currently unemployed.
How long have you been unemployed?
Since March 2011.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was working for AHRC as a supervisor in a day program for adults with disabilities.
What happened to that job?
I quit due to ongoing domestic violence with my daughter's father.
Not at AHRC.
Yes, he showed up at my place of employment several times.
So were you fired or did you resign?
I resigned and I moved out of the area for a brief period of time.
Okay. How many times, Miss Madigan, have you been to a police station?
I'd say about 5 or 6 times.
How many times have you been there with regard to your boyfriend who was, according to you, violent?
At least 4.
So it could be 4 or 5?
Correct.
Out of the 5 or 6?
Yes.
And how long has he been your boyfriend?
6 years.
So, based upon what you tell me, there was at most, follow my math, math is not my strong suit, at most, you were at a police station one time that didn't involve domestic violence about your boyfriend. Is that correct? One time. Miss Madigan, you're never going to figure out where I'm going. Why don't you just answer my question? If you answer me a question, how many times have you been to a police station to report a crime? I would say to you, 0. I wouldn't have to think about that. 0. None. Now, Officer Byrd, if somebody said to you, how many times have you been to a police station to report a crime?
Yeah.
You know, you're much younger than I am, but could you give me a figure?
Once.
Once. One time. See what I mean?
Yes.
Do we understand each other?
Yes.
So if my math is right, you were at a police station one time to report a crime that did not involve the domestic violence and your boyfriend.
That is correct.
That's where we're going, Miss Madigan. And since I don't see any guys here, I assume that the boyfriend, whose name is?
Sean.
Sean. He's not here. The fact that Sean isn't here does present a problem, because I read all your papers.
Your Honor.
He's here? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I have a notarized letter from him.
I don't read notarized letters. And is there a reason that Sean, who is a domestic violence abuser, according to you, for 6 years, you expect me to read a notarized letter from him? And what state do you come from?
New York.
And the reason he's not here today is?
Because he's out on bail.
And he's out on bail for?
For an order of protection.
He's out on bail because he violated an order of protection.
That is correct.
And who was the victim in the order of protection?
I am.
You are. Right.
We share a child, Your Honor.
That's your mistake.
You're right, it is.
That's your mistake.
You're absolutely right.
All right, so let's move on.
Biggest mistake.
Let's move on. Is this what your case is about? For some reason, and I don't care what, you're a friend of Sean's. I don't care why. That's your bad judgment. Sean was driving your car.
Correct.
And you weren't with him in the car. According to your complaint, Miss Madigan rear-ended your car that Sean was driving because she was mad. Had to be, because it wasn't an accident. And totaled your car because your car went into somebody else's car and got smashed like an accordion.
Correct.
And you want Miss Madigan to car.
Yes.
Sounds reasonable, right? And who saw Miss Madigan hit your car? Because you weren't there.
My other witness, Beatrice, right here.
Your name is?
My name is Beatrice Powell.
Miss Powell, your car was hit by Miss Phillips' car, allegedly when her car was hit by somebody from the rear.
Correct.
Did you see who hit your car?
I saw the car and I saw a woman behind the wheel.
The car who hit you was being driven by a woman?
Yes.
The car that hit you was being driven by a woman.
Sorry. The car...
No, just a second. Miss Pohl, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Right.
Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So my question to you was a simple one. Did you see the person who hit your car?
Yes, I did.
Was that person a man or a woman?
A man.
And you were hit pretty badly.
Yes, I was.
So what did you do?
I looked to see if my granddaughter was okay, who was sitting in the front of the car, seat belted, and I was looking in the rearview mirror to see who had hit me, and I saw a black car, which was backed up, totaled, and I also saw another car, which was a greenish, grayish color. I can't explain the color. It was really not a common color. Huge SUV back up and go around where we were. And as it did, I saw the car go by, and I saw a woman behind the wheel with black hair.
Then what happened?
Then I got out the car to see, you know, if the gentleman who was standing there, and as I got out the car, he ran. He ran down Fulton Avenue, and I turned to my daughter and I said, "Oh my God, I think..."
Don't tell me what you
well,
said to your daughter.
he ran down the street, and he came back a little while later, and...
You can't tell me what he told you.
Okay. And came back later, and he just, you know...
He came back later.
Right.
That person isn't here today.
Correct.
You could not identify the woman who was driving the car. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. What kind of car do you drive, Miss Madigan?
A 2003 Mercury Mountaineer.
That's a big car.
Yes.
What color?
Light, so it's a silver color. I have the pictures of my vehicle if you'd like to see the color.
Sure. Well, in this light, it certainly doesn't look greenish grayish. It looks like a silver car. What I find fascinating, Miss Madigan, is you have a counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that somebody, I think it's her, poured battery acid on your car.
That is correct.
And you went and made that report. On what date?
February 20th, 2011.
February 20th. What time?
We completed the report at 1:44 p.m.
1:44 p.m.
That is correct.
That's when you completed the report.
Yes, and began signing.
I'd like to see the report that you completed. Okay, so this happened overnight, and you didn't exactly know who did it or...
Well, my sister saw...
Shh, don't tell me what your sister saw.
Okay.
I'm reading the report now. This happened in the middle of the night.
Yes.
You didn't report it first thing in the morning. You reported it later on that day, completing the report at about 1:45.
Correct.
And this happened at 2:30.
2:04 p.m.
This happened.
Yes, I have the report for that here also.
Great. So later.
Correct.
Okay. So let me read exactly what this says.
Yes.
Because I can take care of your counterclaim very fast.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What?
My sister saw her do it.
No, I don't believe it. I'm not even going to take her testimony, because if your sister saw her do it, it would have been in that report.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Crystal Phillips says her car was totaled when April Madigan rear-ended her. April is countersuing, claiming Crystal vandalized her car subsequent to the accident.
Okay. Complainant states that her auto was in need of a new paint job now, and she got an estimate of approximately $5,000 in damage. Complainant states that she had an ongoing problem with the father of her child, the lovely Sean, but did not see him in the area or anyone else.
I did write that because I didn't want to get anyone in trouble. I don't like drama.
Or
in my
anyone
life.
else do this to her car.
I want these people out of my life. At this time, I did not even know this girl. I still don't even know her.
Just a second. I'm just dealing with your counterclaim. If you went to the police to report a problem, and if you had information as to the identity of the person who did it, I mean, you're already at the police station.
Yes.
Then you would have indicated who it was.
He explained that that's a felony charge for doing that, and I
don't tell me what he explained, madam.
Doing this.
Don't tell me what he explained. You can return this to her now. I would appreciate that, Bird. Okay. So, Miss Phillips.
Yes.
Very good. You have no case against her.
Actually, I believe I do.
No, you don't. Do you have a witness that saw her hit your car? No. You don't. You have no witness that saw her hit your car. I cannot make a decision based on police reports. You need a witness.
But can I also indicate something? Okay, she said she has an estimate for whatever she claims was done to her car. But,
okay, claims dismissed. She has no proof that you damaged her car.
What? My sister saw her do it.
No, I don't believe it. I'm not even going to take her testimony, because if your sister saw her do it, it would have been in that report. Next!
All right, so when I get home, you're going to jail for felony.
Next! Go!
Yeah, but on this estimate,
I don't care about your estimate.
No, on her estimate.
I don't care about her estimate.
Okay, you can't use that evidence?
You mean someplace she swore under oath that she did damage to your car?
No, but I have a domestic report between her and Sean from this accident. I have the police report.
Doesn't make any difference. You can't use paper evidence to establish your case. You need a witness to establish your case. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. You don't have a witness. Sean is not here. Now, Sean could be your witness.
Can we phone him?
No. He's not here. He's not here. Now, I don't know whether you poured battery acid on her car. I have no clue. She has no proof. So I'm not paying attention to her sister or to your reports. I need a witness. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, I have a second case, and the second case is by Miss Pohl. Yes.
It's case number 107 on the calendar, matter Pohl versus Philip Madigan.
Now, you can stay where you are because you're suing her.
Yes.
You're suing her because she hit your car. Somebody hit her, she hit you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You own the black car?
Not anymore, but yes, I did at the time.
Did you have insurance?
It got canceled 2 days before.
Well, if it got canceled 2 days before, what was Sean doing driving the car?
He asked to borrow it.
And you lent it to him?
Yeah.
Then you're responsible for the damage?
Pretty much.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're responsible for the damage. You can't let somebody drive a car that has no insurance. What kind of car were you driving?
Santa Fe Hyundai SUV.
You have insurance?
Yes, I do.
You have collision insurance?
No, I don't, ma'am.
You didn't have collision. You have liability.
Yes, I do.
But not collision?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is the car?
Car is 2004.
Did you get an estimate on the damage?
Yes, I have gotten 3 estimates.
I'd like to see it, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would you let somebody borrow a car if you had no insurance?
I wasn't aware that it didn't have insurance.
What do you mean you're not aware? If you drive a car, you're supposed to be aware that you have no insurance.
I was late to pay, and I didn't know they canceled it already.
I want to see the letter from your insurance company. Do you have it?
Oh, not on me, no.
If you have no insurance, nobody's supposed to drive your car. You or Sean or anybody else. Because your car hit her car. Mm-hmm. You're responsible for the damage. You took a chance on Sean. That was a big mistake. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, judgment for the plaintiff, Ms. Pohl, against this defendant, the amount of $1,600. Your case is dismissed. You have no proof. Your case is dismissed. You have no proof. That's all. Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. May step out.
I think her decision was excellent. This is obviously full-on trash.
From what I've heard, she's crazy, so.
That has no probable sense in her brain.
But an accident happened, that's that.
To possibly pour battery acid on someone's car.
I don't know nothing about that.
And then you're suing them for an accident that never even happened because you're listening to a psycho.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morgan Zorad versus Fitch. Step forward.
20-year-old James Morgan and his mother, Christine Zorad, are suing James's bandmate, Kyle Fitch, for medical bills resulting from an injury during a performance.
This is your son, is that right?
Yes.
All right, you can sit down because you weren't there. You don't know what this is about other than the fact that you pay the bills. What's your first name?
James.
James, you and the defendant are in a band together. You claim that during one of the performances of your band, the defendant moved into your space. And he did that despite the fact that everybody knew the drill and knew where they were supposed to stand during the course of these performances. And as a result of that, you were injured. And you want him to pay you a whole bunch of money.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant says, you know, you stepped into his space, you moved around, and there was no intentional act of hurting you. This was all part of the act, and unfortunately, this was a situation where the top of his guitar hit you in your
ear.
Okay. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Simple. Video, please.
Video right here.
And I do not expect to see the whole band. I want to see just that moment. This is not an audition. This is very fast. Got it? Perfect. So I assume it's queued up to the moment that I need. Would you play that again for me? I mean, I have to see why they all don't have whiplash on their necks. You're wearing the green shirt?
Yes.
You stepped back into his space. Hopping around, he didn't move. Yes?
Your Honor, it's kind of an unspoken rule that everyone needs to look out for the lead vocalist because it's my job to move around the stage freely so that I can engage the crowd.
That's what happens, James. You moved into his space, so actually you have no lawsuit, even if I didn't assume that there was a sort of assumption of risk here. Like when you play outside, you know, play golf, somebody in another foursome might hit you with a golf ball because you walk in their space and, well, there's sort of an unwritten code. You're supposed to yell four, you're supposed to look out for the other foursome. But unless there is gross negligence, he's not responsible to you. What happens? And it's nonsense anyway. You hurt yourself?
Yes.
You hurt yourself? And you had to go to the doctor?
Yes.
Did you have stitches?
Yes.
All right, and you play together now?
Not right now.
I don't mean right now. Right now you're in court, James.
Well,
when was the last time you played together? When was the last time you played together, Mr. Fitch?
Saturday.
Saturday, this past Saturday. This past Saturday. And when was this accident?
On March 17th.
March 17th. And prior to last Saturday, when did you play together?
Couple weeks.
A couple of weeks before last Saturday? Yes. And did you speak to each other?
Yes.
What happens? And it's nonsense anyway. You've been playing in a band together since. You're still playing together. It's not that you were angry. You didn't feel as if you did anything purposefully, right? And you didn't walk into his space purposefully, right?
No.
I know your mother probably feels very badly for you, and I'm sure he felt badly that it happened. That's what happens. You assume the risk when you're bouncing around the stage, hopping around, and you're hopping around, you hopped into his space, and you got bumped on the head. That's it. Stop being a baby, James. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was just doing my thing, and then...
Honestly, I felt really bad.
All I remember was an extreme burning in my ear.
I mean, when you punch a hole through someone's ear...
I had to get 5 stitches on the front, 4 stitches on the back.
You gotta feel bad. I mean, we're bandmates.
The band is kind of more of a professional...
We gotta get through it, and hopefully, you know, the show must go on. And
relationship, and our friendship has definitely ended.
Hopefully we can continue playing.
Yeah, that's case number 141 on the calendar, the matter Williams versus Charles.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Miss Williams, on what date do you claim that you were assaulted by Miss Charles?
On May 28th, 2011.
Where?
At the Dream Ultra Lounge in downtown Sacramento.
Did you file a police report?
Yes, I filed an incident report.
Can I see it, please?
I don't have it with me. I had the request for it, though.
When did you file the police report?
On May 29th. It was
the next day?
Yeah, the next day.
Okay. Had you met Miss Charles before May 28th?
No, I haven't.
So you'd never seen her before?
Never seen her.
You saw her in a club, according to you, when she was talking to an ex-boyfriend of yours?
That's correct.
How long had he been an ex-boyfriend?
He's been ex-boyfriend for a year.
Had you seen him within that year?
Yes. Like, we talk to each other. We still talk to each other, but we don't, like, no benefits or nothing like that.
So you were together for a while, and then you broke up, but then you remained friends?
Yes.
And you were still friends on May 28th?
No, we was not. We had a falling out the week prior to that.
So 1 week prior, you had a falling out. About what?
I don't want to talk about it. It's like an incident that happened a week prior to that. So me and him had an argument about something. And
about what?
He had took me to Santa Rosa, and he wanted me to prostitute myself, which I wasn't about to do. So he actually left me out there.
So he left you stranded someplace? Yeah. Sounds like a charming guy.
Yeah.
And how long had he been your boyfriend?
2 years.
So when you saw him there and he had left you stranded after he wanted you to commit certain crimes at his request.
Yes.
He was talking to this young lady.
Yeah.
Now you can tell me what happened.
Okay, on the night of May 28th.
I know it was May 28th. Just now tell me what happened. You walk in, you see this person talking to Miss Charles.
Yes.
Go ahead.
When I was walking around, I didn't notice my ex-boyfriend until like an hour before the club ended. I seen him talking to him. We didn't say hi to each other because we wasn't on speaking terms. I just walked past him, and I went outside where they give a breather where you smoke at and stuff, because it was hot inside the club. And as I went back into the club, I seen him talking to her on the side. And after that, I didn't think nothing of it because I don't really care. And then as we was like, when dancing and stuff, I was dancing with my friends, and then I seen her, and she's looking at me. I don't know. I don't think nothing of it, so I'm just like, okay, whatever. I don't have no problems with her or nothing like that. So after that, the club ended 1:30ish. I'm walking out the club. All of a sudden, somebody snatches me from behind by my hair and then basically pulls my hair off because it was a weave. And then she hits me, and I fall to the ground. She hits me like 2 times, and I fall to the ground. After that, it broke up real quick because the security guards was there. Took me outside.
So she hit you twice?
Yeah, she hit me twice.
She pulled you back,
yes,
pulled your hair, and hit you twice?
Yes.
And there had been no contact?
None.
Before? No?
None.
Good. And you went home, then you went to an emergency room?
Yes.
You had a medical bill, and you had pain and suffering?
Yes.
Okay. Where did she hit you, by the way?
On my forehead, right here, this area, forehead.
And she hit you 2 times in the forehead?
Yes.
And then you just left?
Yeah, well, they broke it up, went outside. He took.
What broke up? What do you mean they broke it up?
They carried me outside. They wanted to break home because I guess they didn't want to make a big scene out of the whole thing. So they told us to go home. I wasn't driving. My friend drove me home. So I drove home, and then my sister was like, you should go to the doctor because I had a cut. And she's like, you don't know what she hit you with. It probably was her ring or something that she had on her hand that she hit me with. So I went to the hospital. They gave me a tetanus shot, checked me out, gave me some ice, gave me some Vicodin, and sent me on my way. And made a
okay, Miss Charles, what's the name of the boy you were talking to?
Tony.
And how do you know him?
From high school.
How many years ago was that?
I'm 24, so I don't know, 7 years maybe. I mean, I've known him before that, though, before high school, too. But we're just longtime friends.
Is he a pimp by profession?
You know, I don't know anything about that. I don't know.
What is his profession?
He goes to school for massage therapy. That's what he wants to do. Now, I don't know about pimping and all that.
Does he go to school, or does he want to go to school?
He is in school now.
Where?
Sacramento.
And he's about your age?
Yes.
Now, not that I'm admitting this into evidence for the truth of it, but when you were talking to Tony, did the subject of Ms. Williams come up?
It did. Well, I brought it up because when he came into the club, I spoke to him, you know, we said hi, caught up, and she is staring at me. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, why, who is that? I don't even know who she is.
So you asked Tony who she was? What did Tony tell you?
He just said, oh, she's an old friend. They used to talk or whatever, and that was it.
They used to talk?
Yeah. He never said that they were like boyfriend, girlfriend.
What happened next?
We're talking, and then I asked who she was. He told me whatever. He told me all that.
We got past that already.
Okay. I walk away, start dancing, having a good time again, and then me and him cooked up again in the club. Spoke again. She's pointing and staring again, and then I'm like, okay, now this. I think it's a problem. So I asked him, like, can you go talk to her, go see, like, is there a problem? What's going on? Is she mad? Like, what happened? Like, did you guys? What's going on? I'm confused. So he said, you know, I'm not gonna. What did he say? I don't know. He said something like, I don't want to talk to her or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So he walks away, and then I think they end up talking. I don't know if they got into an argument, though. I don't know what the conversation was. And then I think, like, she hit him, like, why are you talking to her? Like, something like that. And then...
And then what?
Then we're in the club, so it's just like, okay. And then he walks up to me. He tells me, we're talking again. And then she's pointing and staring all over again. I'm dancing.
Get to the end.
The end is I'm walking out the club, and... she comes and, like, bumps into me, like, really, really hard, to where I felt like I almost fell. So I'm falling, and then she raises her arm, and then when she raises her arm, I, like, swung on her and I hit her, like, before she could hit me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
You're not very good at this.
Your knowledge of extension cords is fascinating.
Well, I mean, is it almost correct?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber C. Williams says her ex-boyfriend's friend, Robin Charles, attacked her during a night at the club. Robin claims it was Amber C. who made the first move.
Okay. Can I see your medical bill, please?
Yes, you can. And, Your Honor, none of that is true. He never spoke to me. I never went up to him.
Can I see the medical bill, please?
None of
Yes,
to that club.
You were mad, basically. Can I say one more thing, please, Judge?
Yes.
The police were in the club. And I don't understand if it was such a big deal, like, why didn't they, I didn't go to jail, nothing. And why was she making a police report the next day? Like, they were right there outside the club. Like, and actually they stayed there the whole night. Security guard, no one broke it up. It was nothing like that. Like, she bumped into me, so I felt like I had to defend myself, and the police were there, so I don't get.
What do you do?
I'm a cosmetologist. I do hair.
You're not supposed to hit anybody.
I understand.
You're not supposed to hit anybody.
She's gonna hit me first, and I
shoulda, woulda, coulda. You're not supposed to hit anybody.
She pushed me. She made contact with me. She pushed me.
I don't believe that.
She did.
You're going to pay a medical bill, $1,135.50. Not supposed to hit anybody.
She pushed me, Judy.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She bumped me, and then I just grabbed her and I, did what I had to do.
I was walking in front of her, so she was behind me, so there's no way I could have bumped into her. I was already in front of her already.
Just a little messy, childish, stupid little stuff.
She pulled my hair, didn't hit me.
I just pulled it out and kept it pushing.
She just snatched it off. Like, I think it was, like, pretty creepy.
No one broke it up. I just left her, and I walked away.
I didn't cause any trouble. My theory is he caused the trouble.
A lot of jealousy.
Jealous of what?
Over a boy that don't want her.
Her whole story was a bunch of crap.
Learning experience, yes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Williams versus Knopfsinger. Step forward, please.
Lisa Williams is suing Nicholas Knopfsinger for fire damage to an apartment she sublet to him.
Ms. Williams, you sublet your apartment to the defendant 7 months. During the time of his sublet, there was an electrical fire in the apartment.
Yes.
I assume there is some evidence that this fire was not purposely set. As a matter of fact, Mr. Knopfsinger says he wasn't even at home when the fire started. It was an electrical fire that sparked under a rug. And there was some damage, evidently, to the apartment. Mr. Knopfsinger did not give you a security deposit, I assume, and the landlord sent you a bill for the damage to the apartment caused by the electrical fire. You want him to pay that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I see your original lease?
Yes.
While I'm looking this over, Mr. Knopfsinger, because I'm trying to be efficient and double task, will you please tell me when you started this lease, when it was over, and when the fire took place?
Yes, Your Honor. The lease began in March of 2010. It ended at the end of September, and the apartment fire occurred in the first week of July.
Where were you when the fire happened?
I was at work when the fire started.
Anybody have a fire marshal's report as to where it started? Did you rent the apartment furnished or unfurnished, Mr. Knopfsinger?
Unfurnished, Your Honor.
And you know the electrical cords that this report refers to as being the cause of the fire?
Yes.
What were they?
There was a extension cord plugged into the wall, a lamp that was actually hers, was the only piece of furniture, anything that she had left in the apartment, and my couches, which are motorized, were also plugged into the electrical cord. So it was just those wires.
Okay. So the fire damage was caused by too much juice going into the, connecting cord, the extension cord.
No, Your Honor.
Well, what was it caused by, sir? That's what this says. It was caused by electrical cords.
There was only one of the motors of the couch plugged into the extension cord.
Right.
It was just to gain a few feet to
No, I understand that, but that's what caused the fire.
Somewhere in those wires is where the fire did start.
Somewhere in the wires that you put in the apartment?
Yes.
Either in the extension cord or in the cord from your sofa?
Yes.
But they were as a result of your wiring?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's all I want to know. That's as a result of you put those in. It wasn't things that the plaintiff had there that you moved in with. You bought an extension cord. Who knows whether you put the right extension cord, the wrong extension cord, I don't know. But they were your extension cords that caused the fire.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, good. So now you'll explain to me, sir, let us agree for the moment that they took part of her security, $600 worth of her security that she had in the apartment. You've now vacated the apartment. There's no question that it's cleaned. You cleaned the apartment. You left it in an orderly fashion. The only thing was that there was certain damage caused to the floors of the apartment by the electrical fire. The electrical fire caused by your plugs.
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Now, not an intentional act. Now you're going to explain to me, sir, why it's not your responsibility but her responsibility.
I believe that it is not my responsibility because I didn't intentionally set a fire.
No, you absolutely did not. It was as a result of perhaps negligence, perhaps using the use of the wrong kind of extension cord. Perhaps you used a little extension cord as opposed to one that has lots of juice. I mean, I see my husband loves extension cords. You know, he gets the biggest ones that he can possibly get, these big things that go on the floor. You know, I think it's a man thing, actually. You know, ladies like to hide the extension cords. Men like to see these huge things, even if you're just plugging in 1 or 2 outlets in it. You know, they either are on the floor, they go on the wall, they take up half the wall, and then you put extension cords coming out from that. But sometimes you get ones that have 3 prongs, and some of them are heavy duty, and some of them, you know, little thin ones. I don't know. I don't think you intentionally caused the fire. There's one thing we know for sure. She didn't. She didn't make certain that it was the right gauge or strength of an extension cord. I'm really not very good at this.
Your knowledge of extension cords is fascinating.
Well, I mean, is it almost correct?
It's
I mean,
good.
I
No,
have the
you're
vernacular down
You're
pat.
doing good.
But do you understand? So nobody's suggesting you intentionally did it, or even did it without any thought when you purchased these things. But clearly, something was wrong with them. So somebody's got to be out money. It's either the plaintiff or you. And you have to convince me in 30 seconds or less why it should be somebody that wasn't living in the apartment and that didn't buy the extension cord.
Because she's the one that signed the lease with the apartment, which leaves her responsible for damages. The sublease that I signed with her didn't mention anything about damages. I was helping her out when she moved out of the apartment to take care of the lease,
She weren't
to fulfill her
around.
lease.
I mean, this is not an altruistic thing, sir. Unless you knew her. Were you related to each other?
No, Your Honor.
You found,
yes, it was,
found her on Craigslist?
Yes.
On the internet. So, I mean, it wasn't you were helping her out. You were looking for an apartment. I assume you weren't trolling Craigslist for an apartment because you were looking to burglarize it. I assume you were trolling Craigslist looking for an apartment because you needed a place to live.
Yes, it was beneficial. It was
Right?
mutual benefit.
Are you impressed with that?
Impeccable.
Huh?
Impeccable. I love it.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you weren't helping her out. You needed a place to live. She needed somebody to sublet her apartment to. It was a perfect marriage of sorts. It was lovely. And she is absolutely, the landlord had her money.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question, sir. We can agree, because you look like a nice enough young man, and I don't want you to feel as if you've been given short shrift today. Let's assume she is responsible for any negligent acts or purposeful acts of her lessees, sublessees, friends, etc. And let's say one of her friends, she's having a party, and one of her friends comes to the house with a little kid that she's not watching. And the little kid takes a bunch of magic markers, permanent magic markers, and writes all over the kitchen granite and the walls, and you can't get it out. It's in there. Yeah. There's no question that she is responsible to the landlord for that.
Yes.
Right? Do you think that she would have the right to turn around and sue the parents of that child for failing to watch them? Or if the parent did it, you know, took the magic markers and just got a little loaded and started writing in the house, you think she would have the right to sue them?
I do not, Your Honor.
Well, you're wrong. She is liable to the landlord. And the question is, irrespective of the fact that you did not have a writing that reflected that you were responsible for your own damage, the law says that logically you would be responsible for damages that you caused the apartment. If you lost your temper and put your fist through a door, you think she would be responsible? I mean, under your logic.
I believe without renter's insurance, I think that in this case, the only thing that would have helped it would have been renter's insurance.
Now, I didn't ask you about this case. I just asked you a question. I said you got mad at your girlfriend. You had a fight with her on the phone. You got off the phone, and you proceeded to punch 2 holes in a door. Landlord takes her security deposit. You say, listen, my lease doesn't say anything about damage that I caused to the apartment. That's not my problem. It's her problem. So I'm asking you, under the scenario I just gave you, punching 2 holes in the door.
Yes.
Who would be responsible to fix the door?
I think it would be my responsibility in that case because it would be intentional.
Right. So the question then becomes, is it because it's intentional or negligent? And there is no difference. Whether it's your intentional act or your negligent act, one of you has to be out the $600. And I think the law suggests that that would be you. because it's your negligence, just as if it would be your intentional act. She wasn't there. You were the person who was in charge of keeping that premises safe and secure and free from damage during the term of your sublet. That's all. And they charged you $600. They took $600 from your security deposit, a figure that the defendant does not deny. So I'm entering a judgment on behalf of the plaintiff in the amount of $600. Thank you very much. You did very well.
Parties are excused. You can step out.
Fire was not intentional.
I'm happy with what happened. I feel bad in a sense, but it really wasn't my responsibility.
I didn't sign anything that I was responsible for any damages.
I told him to get renter's insurance.
I think the only thing that would have helped this entire problem would have been if the plaintiff would have had renter's insurance.
I did have renter's insurance, but it wasn't my responsibility anymore.
I think if my property was damaged, then yeah, that would be my problem.
There's no need of me paying on something that I'm not living in anymore.
I didn't leave the oven on or do anything irresponsible in this case.
He told me he was going to carpet the apartment himself since it would be cheaper. So I don't think he was necessarily avoiding it.
I was at work bartending and I got a phone call from a neighbor that lived across the hall and called and said that there were three fire trucks and all this stuff was happening.
Police called me in July and told me what had happened.
It wasn't a very big fire, it was just small.
Apparently don't sub.
Now, it's case number 119 on the calendar, the matter of Shea versus Stenquist.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Shea, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you, cut you badly with a wine glass.
Correct.
And she did that without provocation. No idea why it happened. Ms. Stenquist says that you were attempting to assault her, and the way to get you away from her was to hit you with a wine glass that she had or was within reachable distance. So I'd like you to tell me when this incident occurred first, date and time.
December 11th, last year at
2010.
2010, correct, at my home.
Had you ever been to the plaintiff's house before, Ms. Stenquist?
No.
Had the two of you been drinking that night?
Yes.
Yes.
Where had you met?
Stingray nightclub in downtown San Diego. We were out for my buddy's birthday party.
And you had never met Ms. Stenquist before?
No, actually, I met her. She's actually a friend of mine when I first moved here from Texas.
So you knew each other. How long have you known each other?
2 years.
Ever date?
No.
Is that correct?
Correct.
How did the defendant find herself in your apartment after an evening of partying?
We met at Stingray. She was with Nunn and Fonte, and I saw them all three together, and I walked up and spoke with her. She was by herself. We ended up leaving, going to Flux, a different nightclub in downtown. We couldn't get in because it was like 1:45, and they told us, you know, hey, it's closing time. So I offered to go back to my home. And
so you invited her back to your home?
I invited everyone
With
back.
these two people?
Correct. I invited everyone back over.
Who was driving?
We walked. I can walk home. Downtown, we walked.
Good.
Yeah. And then we were all sitting on the couch drinking wine, and Nunn and Fonte proceeded to leave. They went downstairs. They came back up because they couldn't find the cab. So Andre and I got closer on the couch, and as soon as they walked back in, I diverted my attention towards them. You know, and as you open the door, you can see the couch. They looked at me, I looked at them, and without any notice, I just get a wine glass, smashed my forehead. No reason at all. I wasn't even looking at her.
Mr. Shea, did you ever have any confrontation with the defendant before?
No.
And you considered her a friend?
Correct.
Was she intoxicated?
Ask her.
No, I'm asking you.
Sure, probably.
Were you intoxicated?
I had been drinking, but I mean, I wasn't. I mean, I knew what was going on. She might have been blacked out. I don't know.
Well, she didn't appear to be blacked out to you. Is that correct, sir? You were having a conversation on the couch.
I was looking in her eyes. Yeah, we were talking.
You were talking. What were you talking about?
Stuff. I mean, how our night went, how much of a good time we had. Just flirting.
Okay.
A little small talk.
So, without provocation, for no reason, she hit you in the head with a wine glass. Now, can I take a look at the medical records that you have?
I had a police report.
That when I get it.
There you go.
Tell me what procedure was done to you, sir. Did you have stitches?
Correct.
How many?
Few. They were done from the inside, not from the outside. So not to leave them.
On your forehead?
I had a specific request for that.
Who took you to the emergency room?
My mother.
Where does your mother live?
She lives with me.
Where was she that evening?
She was sleeping. I woke her up.
She lives with you or you live with her?
Oh, I guess live together. I live with her. Sure.
Well, that's my question. You live with her?
Correct.
Have you grown up in that home?
No, I grew up in Texas.
How old were you when you moved to San Diego?
16.
And you moved with your mother?
Family, entire family.
Did you ever move out of the family house?
Correct.
When you were how old?
21.
And how old are you now?
23.
Did you move back to the family house?
I did.
So you live with your mother.
Correct.
Your mother doesn't live with you.
Correct.
Does your mother work?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
Why did you move back with your mother?
Ran out of money.
But your mother worked. She had the money. Just trying to, you know, I hear a young man say, you know, my mother lives with me. Just wanted to figure out how that happens. Is this a house or an apartment?
It's a penthouse, Your Honor.
So after you got hit in the head with the wine glass, you woke your mother up.
Correct.
Where was Miss Stenquist?
Still sitting on a couch.
Where were her friends?
They were in the room also with her.
Tell me about how that played out, Mr. Shea. Just curious. She hits you in the head with the wine glass. Was there wine in the wine glass, or was it empty?
I think it was empty. I didn't see any wine on me.
And you feel blood?
I touched my forehead.
Touch your forehead?
This is a scar right here, by the way.
And then what did you do? What did you do and say immediately?
I didn't say anything to her. I just saw the blood, and I was like, I need emergency help. So I proceeded to go wake my mom up, and she saw it. And
You didn't say anything to Miss Stenquist?
No, I didn't say anything.
I mean, you didn't say anything like, what did you do that for?
No.
What, are you crazy?
I'm pretty good at keeping my
Well,
emotions
just a second.
No.
You said nothing to her. You just went and woke your mother
Well,
up.
I mean, no, I didn't say anything to her. You can ask her. I didn't say anything to her.
What?
I didn't say anything to her.
When did you call the police?
We didn't call the police. My mother woke up, and she told everyone to get up, and we're going to the hospital.
Told everyone to
get up, and that we're all going to the hospital.
So you all went to the hospital?
Yeah, correct.
And?
And I got admitted into the emergency room. Waited a while till the doctor came in. He sutured me up, and then the police came, got reports.
Who called the police?
I don't know. Probably my mother.
What do you mean probably? Your mother, Mr. Shea?
My mother called the police.
Now I'll see the police report.
It's my statement. It's her statement.
Go.
From the beginning of the night.
From on the couch when your friends went downstairs.
My friends went downstairs to get money out of the ATM machine because we didn't have any cash on us. And I was sitting on one side of the couch while Ada was sitting on the other side of the couch. And right when they left the room, he came and sat next to me on the couch. And then he proceeded to put his hand on my leg, and he put his arm on my side, and he tried to kiss the side of my neck. He tried to kiss the side of my face. I repeatedly tell him to shh. I repeatedly told him.
Don't interrupt her again.
I repeatedly told him to stop. I asked him to stop. No means no. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I had the wine glass in my hand because we had been drinking it, and I went to push him off me. And when I saw the blood, I was in just as much shock as he was. I had no intentions of hurting him.
Okay. Who's none?
I am.
Up. I read very carefully the police statement. And you did want to tell the police the truth, correct?
Yes.
And you did tell them the truth when they interviewed you that night?
Yes.
And this is your girlfriend?
That's true.
And your girlfriend told the police the exact same story that you did?
I'm assuming, yes.
And based upon what I read here, you were in the room when the plaintiff was injured.
Yes, we both were.
So being in the room, the defendant was not in any danger at that point. Her two friends had come into the room, correct?
We just entered the room.
You just entered the room.
Yeah.
So at that point, if there was any danger to her, that was no longer an issue because the two of you had just come upstairs. You had been together before, correct?
Yes.
And you walked in, and after you walked into the room, you saw the defendant, and you couldn't tell a reason, take a wine glass and hit him over the head with it. That's what you told the police.
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
That's what I want to know. That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
Up. Your last name is?
Sponti.
Sponti. You just heard your boyfriend?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
So you walked in the room, and it's a living room. I assume it's a living room. Did you have to open the door?
As we were entering the room, opening the door is when she hit him. It was pretty much...
So you opened the door, and then she hit him?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You can all sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Police asked you what happened. You said, I don't know what happened. I asked Stenquist who she was with, were they drinking, what happened, and so everything I don't know. Now you know.
And later today,
did you tell him that you missed?
Ada Shea claims Former friend Andreas Stenquist smashed a wine glass over his head for no reason. Andrea says Atta forced himself on her.
Anything else you want to tell me? No. Anything else you want to tell me?
I just want to reiterate that I only did this because I was scared and I was defending myself.
You weren't defending yourself. Whatever danger there was over. You probably had too much to drink. I mean, even your statement to the police says, I don't know why it happened. I mean, the police interviewed you that night. Police asked you, what happened? You said, I don't know what happened. I asked Stenquist who she was with, were they drinking, what happened, and everything I don't know. Now you know.
I was in shock and I was scared at the moment.
You were in shock from what?
Otto was my friend. I didn't think that he was going to try to grope me like that, and I was really scared. And when I saw all the blood, I had no intention of hurting him. I was really scared, and I just wanted to get him off me. It was my immediate reaction. I said
for the
no.
plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
I mean, shoot, we were talking all night. You know, obviously you agreed to come back with me.
I felt uncomfortable the whole night. We were just trying to go home.
You know, any reasonably prudent person also wouldn't, you know.
What made me feel uncomfortable? Him grabbing me, groping me.
Smash a wine glass over someone's head for no reason.
Trying to kiss the side of my face.
I mean, it's strange. Or why would anyone...
Trying to touch my leg.
Smash a wine glass over my forehead.
Well, I was shocked. I was scared for him. That's why I went to the hospital with him.
Obviously, she lost the case. That speaks for itself.
Well, he's my friend, and when people drink, they make decisions that they wouldn't normally make.
I'm happy she made the right decision.
As a result, just trust nobody.
Don't mess with crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Keys versus Hatton. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Dorothy Keys is suing the father of her son, 19-year-old Christopher Hatton, for medical co-payments resulting from her pregnancy.
Ms. Keys, your lawsuit seeks to have Mr. Hatton, who was the father of your child, pay for medical co-pays during the period of your pregnancy. That's what the lawsuit is about?
Yes, co-pays and medical bills.
And Mr. Hatton says you tricked him not only once, but twice. So I have a few questions for you, based upon his answer to your questions.
Okay.
You're 19 years old?
Yes.
And you and Mr. Hatton had a relationship for how long?
I've known him for over about a year now.
And how old is your child?
7 weeks.
When for the first time did you tell Mr. Hatton that you were pregnant?
March of 2010.
And at that time, how long had you known him?
About 3 months.
Were you using birth control?
No, I wasn't.
Did you tell that to Mr. Hatton?
He was aware of that.
That's not what I asked you. I said, did you tell him?
No, I didn't tell him.
Did he ask you?
No, he didn't ask.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you first told him that you were pregnant in March 2010, what did you tell him?
I said, I'm pregnant.
And what did he say? And what did he say?
He had asked me to keep the baby and told me that he didn't want me to get rid of it.
Well, tell me his exact words.
I told him that I didn't know him well and I didn't really want to have a child with him at the time.
Yes.
And he kind of begged and pleaded with me to have the baby.
No, tell me what he said.
That he wanted the baby, that he wants to have his child.
And what did you say?
That I would think about it.
And did you think about it?
Yes.
And what did you decide to do?
Keep the baby.
Did you?
I miscarried.
At the time you told Mr. Hatton that you were pregnant, this was an unwanted pregnancy for you.
Yes.
You knew you weren't on any kind of birth control, and you knew that Genius over here wasn't taking precautions either, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you're 19 years old and he's 19 years old. So, sounds to me, in March of 2010, you dodged a bullet, right?
I miscarried in
That's
later May.
correct. Or April. That's correct. So you didn't have to make any more judgments as to whether, you didn't know him well, you really didn't have that kind of serious relationship with him. So a greater power made that judgment for you because you miscarried your baby. If somebody were using their brains and they continue to want to have an intimate relationship with a 19-year-old goofball, it would seem to me somebody would take some precautions not to get pregnant again. Now, did you tell him that you miscarried the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes.
When did you tell him? Because he's going to tell me a whole different story, Miss Keys. And I'm really good at sniffing out who's telling me the truth. When did you have I miscarried
in May.
And when did you tell him that you miscarried? No, don't look over there. Don't listen to me. Don't look over there. look over here. When did you tell him? That day?
No, I probably told him.
Just a second. You didn't tell him that day. Did you tell him the next day?
No, I didn't. I didn't tell him that month at all.
Why?
Because
why?
I didn't feel that it was necessary.
What do you mean you didn't feel as if it was necessary? He told you, but according to you, he said, I really, really want this baby. It's not what he says, but according to you, he says he really, really wanted to have a child. Wasn't something that you were so thrilled about. Have a miscarriage. You don't tell the father of the babies, because they were twins, you told him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You don't tell the father the entire month, but you continue to have intimate relations with him, right?
No,
then you got
after
pregnant
you miscarry,
again.
You don't just initially jump back into having intimate relations with anyone.
Well, but you did. And when did you become pregnant? In what month?
Just like when you have a baby.
When did you become pregnant again?
In July.
When prior to July did you tell Mr. Hatton that you had miscarried?
I'm not sure, but he was aware of it.
Nah. He wasn't aware of it because you didn't tell him. That's what he says. He says, I didn't know. I didn't know. The first time she told me that I didn't know anything. That's what he's complaining about. He's complaining about that he's a 19-year-old goofball. But what you did was cunning by not telling him that you had miscarried these babies, two 19-year-olds. You support yourself?
Yes.
By doing what? Is not an answer. What do you support yourself doing?
Well, I was working, and I made preparations while I was working by setting money aside.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was a makeup artist.
Were you working for somebody full-time? Name of the person you were working for full-time.
I was working for Sephora.
Did you get a paycheck every week?
Every 2.
How long were you working for Sephora?
I started working there when I was 3 months pregnant.
Which time?
Of course, the second time.
And how many months did you work?
About 3.5.
So other than the 3.5 months that you worked, in the last 2 years, how do you support yourself?
Before that, I worked at a spa and salon as an esthetician.
Yes. What happened to that job?
I decided that I wanted to seek more makeup fulfilling jobs.
What do you do now?
I'm going to go back to work as a makeup artist.
What do you do now?
Well, my child is only 7 weeks old. You have to stay at home for 6 weeks. So that means I would be on maternity leave.
You were on maternity leave from a job that you had for 3 months? Is that what you're telling me?
I was put on bed rest while I was pregnant.
Okay. What do you do for a living, Mr. Hatton?
I work at UPS.
For how long?
I've been working at UPS since last July.
You work full-time or part-time?
Part-time.
What do you do with the other part of the time?
I go to school.
What school?
I'm currently enrolled in University of Phoenix.
Who paid your medical bills?
You mean prior to me not working?
Who paid your medical bills that you want him to reimburse you for?
Some of them are still unpaid.
Who paid the others?
Me and my mother.
Good. Do you live with your mother?
At the time.
What about now?
Yeah, right now. I live with her.
But my question is, do you live with your mother now?
Yes, I live with my mother now.
Good. Then let her pay the rest of your medical bills.
Really?
He's not paying them. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I already know I was going to win because her attitude is what gets her always messed up.
So 100% sure this is the mother, father of my child.
She got a real bad attitude that she needs to work on.
And this is some
I don't know why. She's just mad at the world. She's mad at everybody.
This case, him, and my baby's still good.
It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just how she is.
We good. We been good. So we gonna stay good.
Always use protection and make sure you watch them take the birth control. Don't just believe off a word. Make sure you watch. You gotta see them.
It's case number 54 on the calendar in the matter of Luna versus Duran.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Luna, you and Miss Duran were friends and decided to sign a lease together. You signed the 9-month lease, just the two of you. But the understanding was that you would be moving in with your boyfriend and she would be moving in with her boyfriend. So far, correct?
Yes.
And you did, in fact, move in, the four of you together. I assume this was a 2-bedroom accommodation?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
You moved out after 5 months because there was some problem between the boyfriends. And you want Miss Duran to pay her half of the last 4 months of rent.
6 months. November, December, January, February, March, April. So 5.5. because the lease ended April 9th.
5 months rent. She paid you November.
No, I did not receive November.
Yes, she paid you November.
I did not receive November's payment. I have not.
Okay. In any event, the defendant says that you changed the locks, you changed the agreement, you got an order of protection against her boyfriend, which precluded her boyfriend from coming into the house, which changed the agreement. Therefore, she moved out. She's counterclaiming because she says you and your boyfriend forced her to pay November's rent, telling her that she couldn't get the rest of her stuff unless she paid November's rent. And then she didn't live there in November. She's got a counterclaim for November's rent. So my question to you is as follows. If she moved out in November and you did not get November's rent, why did you wait until May to sue her?
I went to sue her before, and I was told by a legal advice I needed to wait closer till the lease is up.
Who told you that? I'm just curious, not that it's...
The legal advice with the North County courthouse. They offer legal advice to help you for free. I went in and asked...
You pay nothing? You get...
Well, they told me to go closer to the lease being up because if I'm trying to sue for money that's due later, that I can't sue her.
What somebody else should have said to you, if you, in fact, had a protective order, which you did have against her boyfriend?
Against her boyfriend.
That's okay. Your contract with her, your oral contract with her, was that each of you would be moving in with your respective boyfriends.
We had an understanding.
No, that's not an understanding.
With the apartment complex as well.
I'm not talking about... Listen to me. Between the two of you in the apartment complex, you had a contract. Your contract was the lease.
Yes.
Between the two of you,
yes,
your agreement was that each of you would be living there with your boyfriends. 4 of you would be living in the apartment. That was the agreement between the two of you.
Yeah, but I had the understanding, too, that he wouldn't always be there and her boyfriend wouldn't always be there. He stayed with his aunt. He has somewhere to be to take care of his grandmother. I wasn't aware. I mean, yeah, they had belongings there. Yeah, they stayed there. Yeah, we had children together for them to both take care of while we both worked. But it was an understanding.
You're double-talking me. Don't try to double-talk me. Your understanding with her was that the 4 of you would be living together. She and her boyfriend, you and your boyfriend, but only the 2 of you signed the lease. That was your agreement. Now, on what date did you get a protective order against her boyfriend?
It was sometime in the beginning of November. I believe it was November 2nd. I have it here.
I'd like to see it. Where is your boyfriend? He sounds charming. Where is he?
Incarcerated.
For what?
For her boyfriend coming over to where we used to...
I'm not speaking to you. What is he incarcerated for? Not for her boyfriend coming over anywhere. He's incarcerated for robbery, assault.
Assault.
Assault on whom?
On her boyfriend.
And how long has he been incarcerated?
November 4th.
Has he been convicted or is he awaiting trial?
He's awaiting.
Well, if he's awaiting trial and he's incarcerated since November, this wasn't his first offense.
Yes.
Impossible.
No.
Impossible.
No record.
Then he must have assaulted him pretty badly.
No.
Are you kidding me?
Just a second. Stand up, please. Your name is?
Darren Crawford.
Mr. Crawford, what was the nature of the assault?
He stabbed me in the chest.
Were you hospitalized?
Yes, I was.
For how long?
24 hours.
Thank you. And sit down.
Oh, my God.
What?
He was actually in the hospital probably like 1 to 2 hours because he returned back to the property and continued to make threats to my family while we were outside on the porch.
Yes.
If you speak again, I'm just going to dismiss your case. You do understand that?
I'm sorry.
She was also outside while...
I'm telling you, does your boyfriend have bail?
No.
He was denied bail?
No, he was given bail.
But he couldn't make it. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
What was his bail?
$5,000, I believe.
Do you know what his bail was?
Yes, it was on the website, and it said that it was $300 and something thousand. She may be relating to go to a bail bond. You have to pay $5,000, but it was over $300,000 to get out, and it was assault with a deadly weapon and criminal threat were his charges. He almost had 6 counts of different...
No, but it all had to do with one event.
2 events, because he had 2 counts of criminal threat. 1 because of the restraining order, what he threatened me. Another because his fiancé, Darren Crawford, and also assaulted him with a knife and stabbed him.
Did your boyfriend have any guns?
No.
Did he ever, in the course of your relationship, own or possess any guns?
No.
Did you ever hear him threaten a plaintiff?
No.
That's not true. Did you ever hear him threaten the plaintiff?
No.
Why did you move out in November?
Because I stood at the apartment some days I didn't, still paid the bills, and after the texting, threatening that happened against the plaintiff.
By your boyfriend?
Correct, and her as well. It was vice versa. Either way, I came back to the apartment to get some of my son's stuff and some of my stuff, figuring that I'd let the situation cool down for a few and just remove some property. When I went back to the apartment, I tried to put
Went back from where?
From my mother's house.
So you were staying at your mother's house?
Right.
For how long?
It varied. Few days, and we'd go back to the apartment for a few days.
Who's we?
Me and my boyfriend. Well, my family.
Was your boyfriend staying at your mother's house?
With me, yes.
After there was a protective order, he was staying at your mother's house?
The protective order came after the incident of when I went to go put my key in the door and the locks were changed. The texting happened, I believe, like the 29th or the 30th of October. And she said, I'm going to call the police. And I said, do what you have to do, that's fine.
Call the police about what?
Because of the texting, threatening.
I'm so sorry.
No, you said so far that's the 3rd. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Next time I just say goodbye because I have other things to do this afternoon. Do you understand? Okay. Go ahead.
So after that incident, she said she was going to call the police because she felt threatened by my boyfriend. I told her that was fine if she felt that her life was threatened, to go ahead and call the police. So she said she was going to do so.
That was on October 29th.
Right.
We're talking about November 2nd.
That's when she served the paper, and we were already at my mother's house after the texting incident.
So you had moved out?
No.
When did you and your boyfriend leave the apartment?
I left the apartment the same day that I went and found that the locks were changed. I had to jump through the balcony, went in and found that all my property was stolen out of my room. And as I was coming outside...
You need to shut up, okay?
As I was coming out, bringing stuff down, her boyfriend then said, what nerve do I have to be there? As I was taking the rest of my stuff, because they already withheld.
Why were you taking the rest of your stuff?
Because I went inside, all my property was missing.
Okay.
And I didn't feel like that was a situation for me to stay
You have
in.
to pay your half of the rent for 4 months.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did I take care of everything I had to take care of? Yes?
Yeah.
What?
And later, Tanya Luna says former roommate Maricela Duran broke their lease. She is suing for rent and for damages to their apartment.
Now, what was your half of the rent?
$535.
Okay. Prove to me that you paid her the $535 for November's rent.
Okay. And it was given cash, ma'am, and my mom was there to witness that I did.
I'm not going to listen to your mother.
The most you can withdraw from the bank at one time is $500, so I went to Dollar Tree that was right next door and withdrew another $50.
I believe you. That's why I've only awarded her $21.40, which is 4 months' rent, not 5, because your lease was up in April, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did I take care of everything I had to take care of? Yes?
Yeah.
$21.40. What?
What about the damages that were by her as well, because she was there?
You were the last 4 months?
Yes.
With your boyfriend?
Yes.
And you take care of the damages, $21.40. By the way, was there a security deposit that you put in?
Yes, and I put it in myself.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
How much was the security deposit?
$100. But there was also application fee and the rent for July that I paid all of myself.
$2,140, 4 months' rent. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I've known Tanya as a little kid, and since she's been with Darren Crawford, he's been a controlling person.
I believe that her boyfriend was really controlling.
Her boyfriend is incarcerated.
Where were we going? She's cussing at him in the street.
She's been in 2 relationships where they're both incarcerated.
Why don't I make him food?
If I was such a horrible guy, I think I'd be the one in jail and not her boyfriend.
I thought it was different with her since we've been friends for so long.
I would prefer them to be friends, but obviously one individual came in the picture.
She changed the locks, which was illegal.
We were like family, really close.
They had been friends before me.
We grew up together, went through everything together.
They had been friends when I was there.
We were friends until she started to do things that weren't friendly.
When her boyfriend came, then all of a sudden there was problems, but it's my fault.
I'm not no one to judge somebody.
I guess it's a lesson learned to watch who you trust and who you live with and bring around your family.
I mean, it's done, and, you know, I wish her the best of luck.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McNeese Bishop versus Lansbury. Step forward, please.
Daniel McNeese and his girlfriend, Kayleen Bishop, are suing their former landlord, Catherine Lansbury, for property damage caused by a fire and for the return of their security deposit.
What is your name?
Kayleen Bishop.
And you are Mr. McNeese?
Yes.
Who's going to speak?
I will, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. McNeese, you and Ms. Bishop were tenants of the defendant. There was a fire in the premises that you leased from her. You want several things. You wanted to be responsible for some of the personal property that was damaged in the premises.
That's correct.
As a result of the fire. And in addition, you want the return of your security deposit. The defendant says that if you had property damage as a result of a fire, that you should have had renter's insurance, which would have taken care of any damage, that she was as kind to you as she could possibly be, but when she went back to the house after you left, you had left the place a disaster, and it required a lot to fix it up. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can I see the lease that you have, please? What kind of a premises was it, Mr. McNeese? Is it a house, private house?
It was a 2-bedroom house, yes.
Okay. And nobody else lived there other than you?
That's correct. And Miss Bishop.
Mm-hmm. Where did the fire start? Do you know?
It started in the attic. It's an older house, and it was an electrical wire that triggered the fire of some insulation.
You do understand Section 24 of your lease?
Yes.
Want to read that to me?
Let's see here. Insurance. Tenant acknowledges the landlord will not provide insurance coverage for tenant's property, nor shall landlord be responsible for any loss of tenant's property, whether by theft, fire, acts of God, or otherwise. However, the defendant did say on multiple occasions that she would compensate us for the...
Mr. McNeese, I'm going to tell you what the law is. You cannot go outside the 4 corners of a written contract with an oral agreement. You can only go outside the terms of this contract in another writing signed by both, but that's why you have a lease.
Right.
That's why if you go in to buy a car, the car is sold as is. You can't come in and say, but he said it was in great condition and he just had the tires rotated and changed and the brakes were just redone. But the 4 corners of the contract are what the law deals with.
I do.
Okay. So you understand that she's not responsible for any damage to any property that you had as a result of this fire.
Yes.
So tell me what you want from her.
As the claim states, we are seeking compensation for the bed mattress and drying cleaning that
You're not going to get it.
Along
it's clear
with,
in your, listen to me, it's clear in your lease that you're not entitled to it, so I don't even have to hear about it.
Okay.
The lease specifically says, you want insurance, get your own. She doesn't have insurance, and she's not responsible, whether by fire, theft, acts of God, or otherwise. Landlord is not responsible for your loss. So now tell me what else you think she's responsible for.
That'd be the $600 security deposit.
There's no question they gave you a $600 security deposit?
That's correct.
Okay. And you did not return it to them?
No, ma'am.
Tell me why.
When I returned to the house after the house fire, they couldn't live in the house for a month. I returned their January's month's rent of $950 because they could not live there.
Okay.
And 5 days before the start of February, they decided that they were going to move out, even though the house was going to be ready within another week.
Okay.
So that's fair, but
they can do that.
It does break the terms within the lease. When I arrived at the house, I was living out of town, 2 hours north of Boise, where the house was located. When I came back after they'd vacated the house, there was a broken window.
Well, they never moved back into the house, or they did move back into the house?
No, their belongings were still in the house even through the fire, when the contractors were there repairing the damage upstairs from the fire. So their stuff was their property.
Their property was still there, but they were not there. And you had contractors there.
Correct.
How many contractors did you have there?
There were several subcontractors there, from installation to flooring people, painters, whatever.
Okay, so you got to the house sometime in January. Go ahead.
In the meantime, their items were still, even though I gave them back their rent and everything, their items were still in the house till the start of February. When I returned to the house, I believe it was on February 2nd, there were several things that were really wrong, starting with the yard was not taken care of as specified in the lease, including removal of dog feces, things such as that, piles of leaves, whatever. Inside the house, there was a broken window, which they claimed they did not do, but it was not.
It's very possible that they did not do it. There was a fire. Go ahead.
Anyway, there was the broken window, and then there was etching on an old, these are all old 1910 glass windows, and then there were also some honeycomb, kind of expensive blinds that were ruined by their dog.
How do you know they were ruined by their dog?
It was when they were living there.
No, you had contractors there. You have to return their security deposit, $600. What else?
That's fairly accurate. The defendant and I did speak
Just one
on...
second.
Oh.
You're getting your security deposit back. What else do you want?
Oh, that's it? I mean,
that's it.
Yeah.
Good. They get their security deposit back, madam, because they were not in exclusive control of that premises from the beginning of January until the end of January when you had contractors there.
Okay, but the contractors don't have dogs, ma'am.
I don't know whether they do or not. And neither do you, because you can't tell me that. So I don't know whether they do or whether they brought dogs there. I don't know. Probably not. But since you don't know, and since you can't prove any of it,
sure.
Since you had lots of other people working in your house, you can't ascribe what you saw when you got back there to them. Did they finally move their stuff out?
They had their stuff moved out by February 1st.
By February 1st?
Correct.
Okay, then they get their security deposit back. That's all. Judgment plaintiff, $600.
Parties are excused when they step out.
It was a fair enough decision.
I thought it was exactly what we were expecting.
We never signed a paper saying that there was damage previous to when we moved in, so she can't get us on any of that.
There were other contractors in the house.
It was fair.
So the security deposit, I'm getting back to them, and that's fair enough.
I'm just glad we got some money back.
It was about $600, which was actually the claim that I expected to get when I actually filed it.
I'd come home from work, and a neighbor had called the fire department.
It was a 1910 house.
There was smoke coming out of the house.
There's a house electrical wiring that was just super old.
I got my dog out. That's good.
It's written in there. It's signed contract. I have no problems with that whatsoever.
Perhaps get renter's insurance.
Well, I gave them back their rent.
I'll consider getting renter's insurance next time, possibly.
Not make actions based on the goodness out of my heart.